Welcome, brave souls, to Louisiana, a land of vibrant music, rich culture, and shadows that refuse to rest. Beneath the laughter of Bourbon Street and the charm of centuries-old architecture lie places where the veil between the living and the dead is frighteningly thin. In dimly lit hallways and quiet ballrooms, restless spirits linger, and cameras sometimes capture what the human eye cannot see. Tonight, we step into the 25 haunted hotels in Louisiana with real ghost footage, where rooms whisper secrets, spectral figures glide through corridors, and the past refuses to remain silent. These hotels are more than luxurious getaways, they are haunted dwellings where the living encounter the unseen. And the footage tells the stories words cannot. Hotel Monteleone, a historic landmark in the heart of New Orleans' French Quarter, is famed for its elegance, luxury, and rich literary history. Yet beyond its grand lobby, opulent rooms, and world-renowned carousel bar lies a more mysterious and spectral side. For decades, the hotel has been the center of numerous reports of paranormal activity, drawing ghost hunters, curious travelers, and locals alike to witness the unexplained. Guests and staff alike describe shadowy figures gliding past mirrors, disembodied whispers drifting through the halls, and chairs moving as if guided by invisible hands. Paranormal investigators have captured fleeting orbs, solidifying Hotel Monteleone's reputation as one of the most haunted hotels in New Orleans. Patrons seated at the bar often report an unsettling feeling of being watched. Shadows are occasionally seen gliding along the mirrored walls. Disembodied whispers drift through the room. Phrases echo through the room, a haunting reminder of the hotel's dark history. Chairs occasionally slide slightly along the polished floor, as if invisible patrons are shifting in their seats. Many who have encountered these phenomena report a palpable chill in the air, an inexplicable drop in temperature that seems to follow the movement of unseen entities. Guests staying in the hotel's historic rooms also experience paranormal events. Lights flicker without cause. Doors open and close on their own, and sudden cold spots appear in rooms with no ventilation. Some visitors report seeing shadowy figures at the foot of their beds or standing near windows, only to vanish when approached. Objects occasionally move slightly, cups tilt, or books fall from shelves, adding to the sense that unseen hands are present. Staff who enter these rooms after checkout often describe an eerie silence, punctuated by faint creaks and footsteps that seem to echo from the walls themselves. Hallways connecting guest rooms, ballrooms, and public areas are no strangers to unexplained phenomena. Housekeeping staff frequently report hearing footsteps trailing behind them, only to find the corridor empty upon turning. Doors swing open and shut without apparent cause, and mirrors occasionally reflect shapes that disappear when looked at directly. Faint whispers, sometimes calling a guest's name or repeating phrases in French or English, drift along the halls. Some visitors claim the sensation of being followed, a presence close yet never visible, creating an unsettling tension that is impossible to ignore. The hotel's ballrooms and event spaces, historically the setting for countless celebrations and gatherings, have their own spectral activity. Staff and visitors have reported chairs moving slightly on polished floors, the soft scuff of shoes across empty dance areas, and the subtle rustle of fabric as if unseen dancers are moving among the tables. Shadowy figures have been seen gliding past chandeliers, lingering in corners, or standing near entrances before fading into the background. Lights often flicker during these moments, reinforcing the impression that the hotel itself is alive with memories and presences that refuse to fade. Paranormal investigators who have explored Hotel Monteleone have captured compelling evidence of these ghostly occurrences. Cameras have recorded fleeting orbs of light, translucent shadow figures moving along hallways, and objects shifting without cause. Audio equipment occasionally picks up whispers, footsteps, and faint knocks. Investigators note that the carousel bar, in particular, exhibits a concentration of unexplained activity, suggesting that the spirits are drawn to this iconic space, perhaps lingering where music, laughter, and conversation have echoed for decades. Even the hotel's elevators and stairwells are known for unusual experiences. Guests report lights flickering within the elevator cars, a sensation of sudden cold air, and the feeling of being touched or followed. In stairwells, shadowy figures have been glimpsed ascending or descending, sometimes pausing to watch before disappearing. Staff frequently report hearing footsteps or murmurs in areas that should be completely empty, adding to the hotel's overall atmosphere of persistent, unseen activity. Local legends surrounding Hotel Monteleone often focus on its long history and the countless people who have passed through its doors. Many speculate that the ghosts are former guests, employees, or performers who remain tethered to the hotel by unfinished business or emotional attachments. Others believe that the spirits are echoes of history, residual energy left behind from decades of joyous gatherings, parties, and daily routines that have left an indelible mark on the building. Some accounts even suggest that certain spirits appear to reenact moments of their lives, quietly replaying gestures, conversations, and movements from long ago. Staff members, particularly those working late shifts, frequently encounter some of the most vivid activity. Cameras installed in hallways have recorded shadowy figures walking just beyond the range of human vision. Lights flash on and off without electrical cause, doors move as if nudged by invisible hands, and audio systems capture whispers that seem to originate from empty rooms. Housekeeping staff often report objects being moved or shifted after cleaning, as though an invisible presence is arranging them according to an unseen order. Despite attempts at rational explanations, the frequency and consistency of these events across decades support the belief that Hotel Monteleone is more than simply a place of hospitality. It is a repository of lingering memories and spirits. Despite the haunting reputation, Hotel Monteleone remains a thriving hotel, attracting visitors from around the world. Guests continue to enjoy its historic charm, luxurious accommodations, and the unique experience of the Carousel Bar. Yet after hours, when the lobby quiets and the music fades, the hotel takes on a different character. Shadows glide along mirrors, chairs shift across polished floors, doors swing unexpectedly, and whispers drift through empty hallways. Apparitions appear near the Carousel Bar, in guest rooms, and along hallways, suggesting that the spirits of past guests, employees, and performers continue to inhabit the space. Built in the early 20th century, the hotel has hosted presidents, celebrities, and countless travelers, each leaving their mark on the building's rich history. Yet alongside its reputation for elegance and hospitality, the Roosevelt carries a more mysterious legacy. Phantom footsteps echo through the lobby and hallways, sudden drops in temperature chill even the warmest rooms, and whispers seem to emanate from empty spaces. In CCTV footage, sparking ongoing debates about the supernatural and the spirits that may linger within its walls. The Grand Lobby, with its sweeping staircase and opulent chandeliers, is a hotspot for reported activity. Guests and employees alike describe the sensation of footsteps approaching or trailing behind them, only to find the area empty when they turn to look. Some have reported seeing faint, shadowy figures gliding past the marble columns, their movements deliberate but ephemeral. Disembodied voices whisper in hushed tones, sometimes repeating phrases in English or French, creating the sense that the past is present and listening. Chairs and other furniture occasionally move slightly without explanation, as if invisible hands are adjusting them. And sudden cold drafts sweep through the room despite the absence of open doors or windows. Hallways leading to guest rooms and event spaces are also frequently the site of paranormal occurrences. Security personnel making nightly rounds often report hearing footsteps echoing through the corridors, lights flickering in an erratic pattern, and doors opening and closing on their own. Shadows appear at the edge of vision, vanishing when approached, and faint whispers sometimes call out names or fragments of conversations. Many staff members report feeling a presence behind them, a constant awareness of being observed, which dissipates only when they leave the area. Guest rooms, especially those in the older sections of the hotel, are notorious for unexplained activity. Lights flicker without electrical cause, objects shift or fall from shelves, and sudden cold spots appear with no identifiable source. Some visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures at the foot of their beds or standing near windows, vanishing when approached. Others have described hearing the sound of chairs scraping across the floor or soft footsteps pacing in adjoining hallways. Several guests have left the hotel early, citing an overwhelming sense that the room was inhabited by unseen entities. The Roosevelt's elevators and stairwells also contribute to the building's haunted reputation. Guests have reported lights flickering inside elevators, the sensation of being lightly touched, and the faint feeling of someone standing close by even when the car is empty. In stairwells, shadowy forms have been seen ascending or descending, occasionally pausing at landings before disappearing into the shadows. Staff frequently hear footsteps, murmured words, or even the faint scuffing of shoes in these spaces, making nighttime work shifts an unnerving experience. The Hotella ballrooms, used for weddings, conferences, and social gatherings, have a long history of both celebration and lingering echoes. Staff and visitors have reported hearing the subtle movement of chairs, the scuffing of feet across polished floors, and faint laughter that seems to emerge from empty corners. Shadowy figures occasionally appear near chandeliers or stage areas, silently observing, their presence leaving a sense of watchfulness long after the crowd has gone. Lights sometimes flicker in rhythm with the perceived activity, reinforcing the notion that the ballrooms are alive with lingering memories. CCTV recordings over the years have captured some of the most compelling evidence of the Hotella's paranormal activity. Footage has revealed shadowy figures moving through hallways and rooms long after checkout, lights turning on and off without apparent cause, and objects shifting in ways that cannot be explained by air currents or mechanical failure. Some videos show translucent forms gliding past doors or along corridors, appearing for only a few seconds before vanishing entirely. These recordings have fueled debate among skeptics and believers, with many agreeing that the frequency and consistency of these sightings suggest something more than mere coincidence. Local historians believe that the hauntings at the Roosevelt may be tied to its century-long history and the countless people who have passed through its doors. Accidents, untimely deaths, and emotional events over the decades may have left residual energy within the building. Guests and staff who died unexpectedly or under tragic circumstances may be among the spirits reported, their presence lingering in places that were once familiar. Others speculate that the architectural features of the Hotella high ceilings, long hallways, and polished floors naturally amplify sounds, movements, and reflections, creating experiences that seem supernatural to those attuned to them. Staff members who work late shifts often encounter the most vivid paranormal phenomena. Night security personnel regularly hear footsteps trailing them, doors swing open or closed without explanation, and occasional objects appear moved when they return to check rooms. Many staff report the sensation of being watched or followed, a subtle presence that moves just beyond the edge of perception. Audio systems sometimes capture whispers or footsteps that were imperceptible at the time, adding further intrigue to the hotel's spectral reputation. Despite its haunted reputation, the Roosevelt continues to operate as a premier hotel, hosting guests from around the world who come to experience its historic charm, luxury accommodations, and cultural significance. Footsteps echo along corridors, shadowy figures glide silently past doors, lights flicker inexplicably, and cold drafts sweep through guest rooms and public areas. Apparitions appear in lobbies, ballrooms, and hallways, suggesting that the spirits of former guests and staff continue to inhabit the building alongside the living. The Bourbon Orleans Hotel, located in the heart of New Orleans, celebrated for its elegant architecture, luxurious accommodations, and deep connection to the city's vibrant past. Built in the early 19th century, the hotel has served as a convent, a ballroom, and a private residence before becoming one of the city's most iconic hotels. Yet beyond its charm and grandeur lies a darker, more mysterious side. For decades, guests and staff have reported a variety of paranormal phenomena, ranging from fleeting shadow figures to unexplained lights and sudden chills. Some rooms carry an eerie atmosphere, complete with the faint scent of perfume long gone, as if the memories of past occupants refuse to fade. Many visitors have captured these anomalies on video, lending credibility to the Hotella's reputation as one of the most haunted in New Orleans. The hallways of the Bourbon Orleans are often the setting for the most striking paranormal activity. Guests and staff alike describe seeing shadowy figures flit just beyond the edge of vision, disappearing when approached. Unexplained lights flicker in corridors where no electrical issues exist, casting brief, haunting glows on walls and floors. Footsteps echo along the long corridors late at night, even when the hallways are empty. Some visitors report the sensation of being followed, as though unseen eyes are watching their every step. And the quiet murmurs of distant voices drift through the halls with no identifiable source. The combination of these experiences creates a palpable atmosphere of suspense and mystery, leaving an indelible impression on anyone who stays after dark. Certain guest rooms are particularly well known for their spectral activity. Many visitors have reported sudden temperature drops in specific rooms, the cold air lingering even when the windows and doors are sealed. Shadowy figures have been seen moving across walls, sometimes appearing near beds or windows before vanishing entirely. Objects occasionally shift slightly or fall without explanation, and lights may flicker in sync with the presence of these apparitions. Guests have described faint scents of perfume, sometimes floral, sometimes musky, lingering in the air despite no identifiable source. These sensory phenomena often coincide with visual sightings, creating an immersive and eerie experience that blurs the line between the living and the spirit world. The hotel's public spaces, including the grand ballrooms and historic parlors, are also frequent locations for unexplained activity. Staff working late in these areas report chairs moving without cause, subtle scuffing on polished floors, and the soft rustle of fabric as though invisible guests are moving through the space. Shadowy forms have been observed standing near chandeliers or along the edges of rooms, silently observing. Occasionally, the flicker of lights or the sudden creak of floorboards aligns with these appearances, reinforcing the impression that the hotel itself is alive with memories of those who once passed through its doors. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to the Bourbon Orleans for decades, capturing compelling evidence of its supernatural activity. Video recordings have shown brief, translucent figures moving along hallways and in guest rooms, disappearing before anyone can approach. Orbs of light appear in footage without explanation, and audio equipment often picks up whispers, footsteps, or the soft murmur of conversations where no one is present. Investigators note that these manifestations are concentrated in the older wings of the hotel, where the original architecture, creaking floors, and high ceilings seem to amplify both natural and unnatural sounds, creating an environment where the past and present intersect. Staff members, particularly those who work evening or overnight shifts, frequently report encounters that defy rational explanation. Housekeeping personnel describe feeling the presence of someone standing nearby while cleaning rooms, only to turn and find the space empty. Security staff hear footsteps pacing hallways, doors opening or closing on their own, and faint whispers echoing from corners and stairwells. Many describe a lingering sensation that they are being watched, a subtle but persistent awareness that unseen entities occupy the building alongside the living. These reports have remained consistent for decades, suggesting that the paranormal activity at the Bourbon Orleans is not the product of imagination or coincidence. Local legends surrounding the Bourbon Orleans often connect its hauntings to the history of the French Quarter and the lives of those who inhabited it. The hotel was once home to wealthy residents, convents, and social gatherings, and some believe that the spirits of past occupants continue to roam its halls. Tragic events, sudden deaths, and emotional upheavals over the centuries may have left residual energy within the building, giving rise to the apparitions and unexplained phenomena reported today. Some spirits appear to replay ordinary activities, such as walking the halls, arranging chairs, or lingering in rooms where they once lived or visited, suggesting a form of temporal echo from a bygone era. Or lingering in rooms where they once lived or visited, suggesting a form of temporal echo from a bygone era. The Bourbon Orleans continues to operate as a premier hotel, offering modern amenities, fine dining, and a window into the city's rich past. Yet after hours, when the halls are quiet and the lights dim, the atmosphere transforms. Shadows move silently along corridors, chairs shift slightly in ballrooms and parlors, and cold drafts sweep through rooms and hallways. Ghostly figures appear near mirrors, windows, and doors, while faint whispers drift through spaces long emptied of human activity. Visitors may feel the presence of former guests or residents, lingering just out of reach, observing and replaying fragments of their past lives. The Whitney Plantation Guest Suites, located in Wallace, Louisiana, stands as one of the most poignant reminders of America's painful history. Unlike many historic plantations that focus on architecture or grandeur, Whitney preserves the memory of those who endured slavery on its grounds. Today, the plantation serves as both a museum and a guest accommodation, offering visitors a unique opportunity to connect with the past. Yet along with its historical significance, the Whitney Plantation Guest Suites are widely regarded as one of the most haunted locations in Louisiana. Reports of ghostly activity, unexplained shadows, and overwhelming feelings of sorrow have drawn both paranormal investigators and history enthusiasts to its halls. The hallways of the Plantation's guest suites are often described as heavy with emotion, even when no one else is present. Visitors have reported mist-like figures gliding silently through corridors, fleeting shapes that appear only briefly before fading into the shadows. The sounds of footsteps echo through empty hallways, moving as if guided by unseen presences. Some guests claim to hear whispers, unintelligible at first, but gradually forming into fragments of words that seem to carry both warning and sorrow. Others have felt cold drafts sweeping through rooms that have no open windows or doors, adding to the unnerving sensation that the building is alive with lingering spirits. Many of the most intense experiences occur near areas that were once used to house enslaved people. These rooms, often small and austere, retain an atmosphere that visitors describe as unbearably heavy. Guests report sudden chills, a sense of oppressive sadness, and the feeling of being watched. Some have captured faint, misty figures on video, moving silently through hallways or peering from doorways. Shadows are often seen near old slave quarters, appearing to shift and stretch in unnatural ways, as if recalling the weight of generations who suffered there. Even those who do not see apparitions frequently describe an almost tangible emotional presence, a quiet reminder of the plantation's tragic history. The Plantation's main house and museum areas also exhibit reported paranormal activity. Visitors report hearing soft footsteps on creaking wooden floors, doors opening and closing without cause, and faint voices echoing from empty rooms. Occasionally, objects move slightly on their own, such as books or papers sliding from shelves. Shadowy forms have been observed in hallways or near windows, remaining for only a few seconds before vanishing. Some guests have even described the sensation of being touched lightly by unseen hands, a fleeting but unmistakable reminder that the spirits of the past may be reaching out to the living. Paranormal investigators have extensively documented activity at the Whitney Plantation Guest Suites. Cameras have captured mist-like forms moving along hallways, translucent figures hovering near doors, and fleeting shadows that defy explanation. Audio recordings reveal faint whispers, footsteps, and the subtle hum of voices in rooms that have been empty for hours. Investigators note that these manifestations are concentrated in the older parts of the plantation, particularly in areas associated with the lives of enslaved individuals. The consistency of these reports over the years suggests that the spirits inhabiting the Whitney Plantation Guest Suites are tied not only to physical spaces, but also to the emotional weight of the history they represent. Visitors staying in the guest suites often describe the experiences as emotionally overwhelming. Many report a profound sadness, an inexplicable heaviness that lingers long after leaving the rooms. Some feel a sense of connection with the spirits, a recognition of the hardships endured by those who lived and worked on the plantation. Guests have reported waking in the middle of the night to see shadowy figures at the foot of their beds or moving silently along the walls. The sounds of faint whispers or soft sobs have been described by numerous visitors, and many note a lingering feeling of sorrow that cannot be rationalized. The Plantation's grounds, including the old slave quarters, gardens, and walkways, also harbor signs of paranormal presence. Shadowy figures have been observed moving among the trees, along pathways, and near the historic buildings. Some visitors report hearing distant voices or the creak of wagon wheels on uneven ground. The overall atmosphere of the property, combined with its dark history, amplifies the sense that the spirits of those who suffered there continue to occupy the space, observing and lingering in quiet vigilance. Historians and staff emphasize that the hauntings at Whitney are inseparable from the Plantation's history. unlike many haunted locations that focus solely on personal tragedy or sudden deaths. The spirits here are believed to represent the collective suffering and resilience of enslaved individuals. The emotional weight of the history is thought to have left a lasting imprint on the property, creating a space where the past can still be felt, even by those who did not live it. This connection between historical memory and paranormal activity gives the Whitney Plantation a unique, solemn presence among haunted sites in the United States. Despite the haunting reputation, the Whitney Plantation guest suites continue. The Whitney Plantation guest suites continue to welcome visitors from across the country. Guests come seeking historical insight, cultural education, and an immersive experience of the Plantation's past. Yet after hours, when the halls fall silent and the museum spaces close, the plantation takes on a different character. Mist-like figures glide silently along hallways, shadows move near old doors and windows, and the air carries an unmistakable chill. The Hotel Bentley in Alexandria, Louisiana, is a landmark of history, elegance, and mystery. Built in the early 20th century, the hotel quickly became a symbol of Southern sophistication, hosting dignitaries, travelers, and local patrons seeking luxury accommodations. Over the decades, however, the Bentley has earned a reputation that extends beyond its opulent ballrooms and grand architecture. Visitors, staff, and paranormal investigators alike have reported a range of unexplained phenomena, including doors opening by themselves, footsteps echoing in empty corridors, and fleeting spectral figures appearing in hallways. Visitors, staff, and paranormal investigators alike have reported a range of unexplained phenomena, including doors opening by themselves, footsteps echoing in empty corridors, and fleeting spectral figures appearing in hallways, fueling speculation about the lingering spirits that may call the hotel home. Many of the most striking accounts come from the hotel's hallways. Guests and employees often describe the sensation of being followed, hearing footsteps that pace behind them, only to discover that the corridors are completely empty. Doors swing open and closed without cause, and lights flicker unexpectedly, creating sudden pockets of darkness that amplify the sense of unease. And lights flicker unexpectedly, creating sudden pockets of darkness that amplify the sense of unease. Shadowy figures are occasionally glimpsed out of the corner of the eye, sometimes resembling the shapes of former guests or staff. These apparitions vanish when approached, leaving behind a lingering sense that someone or something is observing silently. The hotel's guest rooms, particularly those in the older sections, are frequent sites of paranormal activity. Visitors report sudden cold drafts that appear with no identifiable source, as well as objects moving slightly on their own. Bedsheets have been observed to shift or wrinkle, as if someone has just left them. Lights occasionally turn on or off without explanation. Some guests claim to see shadowy forms standing near windows or at the foot of their beds, disappearing when they attempt to confront them. A faint sensation of being watched is often reported, adding to the unsettling atmosphere of these rooms. Are also steeped in unexplained phenomena. The rustle of fabric, soft footsteps across polished floors, and the quiet scrape of chairs shifting without human intervention. Near stairwells, or along hallways, often disappearing when anyone approaches, reinforcing the impression that the hotel itself is imbued with a presence that defies rational explanation. That suggests more than coincidence. Orbs of light appear in videos without any source. Investigators note that these occurrences are concentrated in the hotel's historic sections, creating an environment ripe for unexplained activity. Staff members working overnight or on late shifts frequently report encounters that are difficult to dismiss. Housekeeping personnel describe feeling a presence in rooms as they clean, hearing doors close behind them or faint murmurs from adjacent corridors. Security staff often hear footsteps pacing in hallways, shadows moving just beyond the edge of vision, and lights flickering in rooms that are otherwise unoccupied. Many report a subtle sensation that someone is watching, a feeling that does not fade until they leave the area entirely. The consistency of these experiences over decades adds weight to the belief that the Hotel Bentley is home to persistent, unseen presences. Local legends surrounding the Hotel Bentley suggest that its hauntings may be tied to the many decades of activity within its walls. Guests, employees, and entertainers who frequented the hotel may have left residual energy, lingering as echoes of their former lives. Some speculate that certain spirits are tied to the hotel through unfinished business or emotional attachments, replaying gestures, conversations, or daily routines from long ago. Others suggest that the building itself, with its historic architecture and aged interiors, acts as a magnet for supernatural phenomena, amplifying any occurrences, and making them more perceptible to those sensitive to such energies. Guests report lights flickering inside elevators and the sensation of being touched or lightly brushed by invisible hands. Staff frequently report faint whispers, footsteps, or the soft scuffing of shoes in these spaces, even when the areas are entirely empty. Despite its haunted reputation, the Hotel Bentley remains a thriving establishment, welcoming visitors from across the country. Guests continue to enjoy its historic charm, luxurious accommodations, and the rich history it represents. Yet after hours, when the halls are quiet and the lights dim, the hotel takes on a different character. Doors swing open and closed without cause, shadowy figures glide along hallways, and footsteps echo through empty corridors. Lights flicker in guest rooms and common areas, while faint whispers drift along hallways and stairwells. Despite its haunted reputation, the hotel remains a place of wonder and terror. The Dauphine Orleans Hotel, situated in the heart of New Orleans, a historic French quarter, is renowned for its blend of classic elegance and rich cultural heritage. Built in the early 19th century, the hotel has long served as a hub for travelers, artists, and locals seeking refined accommodations in the city's vibrant historic district. Yet beneath its ornate architecture and welcoming ambience lies a mysterious, unsettling side that has captured the attention of both guests and paranormal enthusiasts. Over the years, numerous visitors have reported unexplained phenomena, including chairs sliding across floors, flickering lights, and fleeting apparitions in the hallways. Security cameras have also recorded shadowy forms moving silently through corridors, often disappearing into walls or vanishing entirely, lending credence to tales of the hotel's spectral residents. The hallways of the Dauphine Orleans are often the site of the most consistent paranormal activity. Guests report the sensation of being followed, hearing soft footsteps behind them that echo along the polished floors, yet when they turn to look, the corridors are empty. Flickering lights illuminate the hall in uneven bursts, creating shadows that stretch and shift unnaturally. Chairs and small pieces of furniture are occasionally observed moving without any visible cause, sliding slightly across the floor or shifting position as if nudged by unseen hands. Many visitors describe the chilling sensation of invisible eyes tracking their movements, a constant awareness that they are not alone. Guest rooms in the hotel, particularly those in the older sections, are also frequently associated with unexplained phenomena. Visitors report sudden drops in temperature, a coldness that seems to settle in specific corners of the room. Shadows have been glimpsed moving along walls or near the windows, vanishing as soon as they are acknowledged. Some guests hear faint whispers, indecipherable but persistent, or soft footsteps pacing near doors or along the hallways outside their rooms. Furniture, especially chairs and small tables, sometimes shifts slightly or tips without any explanation. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences creates an unsettling atmosphere, giving the impression that the rooms are inhabited by unseen entities. The public spaces of the Dauphine Orleans Hotel, including its lobby, lounges, and meeting areas, are not exempt from paranormal activity. Staff working late into the night report chairs sliding or shifting, the soft rustling of fabric, and subtle movements along the edges of their vision. Shadows have been observed lingering near columns, staircases, and doorways, often disappearing when approached. Lights flicker unexpectedly, sometimes synchronizing with the perceived presence of these apparitions, heightening the eerie sense that the building itself is imbued with lingering memories of past guests or former residents. Security cameras throughout the hotel have captured some of the most compelling evidence of paranormal activity. Footage has shown dark, shadowy forms gliding along hallways and through rooms, appearing for brief moments before vanishing into walls or disappearing entirely. Orbs of light have been recorded hovering in hallways or near furniture, with no apparent source. Audio captured alongside video footage occasionally reveals faint whispers, footsteps, or the soft scuffing of shoes where no one is present. Paranormal investigators note that these phenomena are concentrated in older parts of the building, where original architecture, high ceilings, and aged flooring may amplify both natural and supernatural occurrences. Staff members frequently share first-hand accounts of unsettling experiences. Housekeeping personnel report feeling the presence of someone watching as they clean, hearing doors swing open or close without any physical cause, and footsteps echoing along hallways that are otherwise empty. Security officers often hear soft voices, footsteps, or the creaking of stairs during their rounds. Even when all guest rooms and public spaces are vacated, many describe a subtle but persistent sensation of being observed, a feeling that fades only when they leave the area or finish their duties. These consistent reports have contributed to the hotel's reputation as a site of ongoing, unexplained activity. Some guests report experiences in specific areas of the hotel, particularly rooms that were once the site of private gatherings or important events. Flickering lights, shifting chairs, and transient shadows seem to be more frequent in these spaces, suggesting that the energy of past activities may linger, interacting with the present. Visitors have occasionally described fleeting apparitions standing near windows or doorways, moving silently as if retracing steps from long ago. Many say that these encounters leave a profound impression, a mixture of awe and unease, making them remember the hotel long after their stay. The history of the Dauphine Orleans Hotel may contribute to its haunting atmosphere. Over the decades, the hotel has hosted countless individuals, from locals to prominent figures, many of whom left emotional imprints on the building. Some of these spirits are believed to be tied to unresolved events or attachments, replaying gestures, movements, and routines from their former lives. Others may represent residual energy, echoes of the past imprinted on the physical space, creating an environment where the living and the unseen intersect. Despite its reputation for hauntings, the Dauphine Orleans continues to operate as a premier destination for visitors seeking both comfort and history. Guests are drawn to its unique blend of luxury and authenticity, often captivated by its historic charm. Yet after the halls empty and the lights dim, the hotel transforms. Chairs glide across floors without cause, lights flicker in isolated rooms, and shadowy figures drift silently along corridors. Whispered voices and soft footsteps fill the air, while unseen presences seem to observe the living, lingering just out of sight. The Bourbon Street Hotel, nestled in the heart of New Orleans' famed French Quarter, is a site where history, elegance, and the supernatural converge. Known for its lively location just steps from the city's iconic nightlife, the hotel also holds a reputation for paranormal activity that has intrigued both guests and investigators for decades. Visitors report experiencing phantom phenomena that range from spectral figures appearing in old rooms to whispers echoing near the elevators and doors slamming with no wind or explanation. Guests and staff alike have captured strange orbs and shadowy silhouettes on camera, adding weight to claims that the Bourbon Street Hotel is one of New Orleans' most haunted accommodations. Many accounts of hauntings occur in the hotel's historic rooms, particularly those that retain much of the original architecture. Guests describe faint figures appearing near windows, at the foot of their beds, or gliding along walls, disappearing when observed directly. Some report hearing soft murmurs or whispers just beyond comprehension, seeming to emanate from the corners of the room. Doors swing open or close on their own, startling guests who are alone. Furniture occasionally shifts slightly, as though nudged by an invisible hand, creating an atmosphere that is both unsettling and mesmerizing. The sensations of being watched, coupled with the visible and auditory manifestations, leave a lasting impression on those who stay in these rooms. The hallways of the Bourbon Street Hotel are a frequent stage for paranormal phenomena. Guests report the sensation of footsteps pacing behind them in otherwise empty corridors, accompanied by occasional flickers of light that create shifting shadows. Some claim to see figures passing quickly along hallways, glimpses caught out of the corner of their eye, disappearing when they attempt to approach. These spectral presences are often accompanied by an uneasy feeling, a sense that someone or something is silently observing the living as they move through the hotel's historic passageways. Public areas, such as the lobby, lounges, and elevator banks, are also linked to strange occurrences. Many visitors have reported hearing whispers echoing near elevators late at night, with no other guests present. Chairs and small furniture have been observed moving independently, sliding across floors or shifting slightly as if touched by unseen hands. Lights occasionally flicker in synchronization with these events, amplifying the eerie ambience and creating fleeting pockets of shadow that seem alive. Staff members often recount moments when they feel a presence hovering nearby, hearing soft sounds that fade as quickly as they appear. Paranormal investigators have documented some of the most compelling activity in the Bourbon Street Hotel. Cameras have captured orbs of light floating along hallways, moving unpredictably and appearing in rooms where no one was present. Shadowy silhouettes have been recorded gliding across floors or standing in corners before vanishing. Audio equipment frequently picks up whispers, faint footsteps, and soft knocks, often in rooms and corridors that appear empty. Investigators note that these manifestations are concentrated in the older sections of the hotel, where creaking floors, high ceilings, and preserved architecture create an environment that seems to amplify both natural and supernatural phenomena. Staff working overnight shifts often report encounters that are difficult to explain. Housekeeping personnel describe feeling the presence of someone nearby as they clean, hearing doors open or close behind them, and footsteps echoing in areas that should be empty. Security staff frequently observe lights flickering, or notice fleeting shadows near staircases and elevators. Some describe a constant, subtle sensation of being watched, persisting until they leave the vicinity or complete their tasks. The consistency of these reports across decades reinforces the hotel's reputation as a hotspot for paranormal activity. Guests sometimes report activity in specific rooms that were once the site of private gatherings or significant events. Shadows and fleeting figures appear more often in these spaces, as though reliving moments from the past. Doors may slam unexpectedly, and faint whispers seem to carry fragments of conversations long ago. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena leaves visitors with a strong sense of the lingering presence of former occupants, a ghostly echo of the lives that once filled the hotel's historic halls. The history of the Bourbon Street Hotel provides context for its haunting atmosphere. Over the decades, countless individuals have passed through its doors. Travelers, performers, locals, and dignitaries, leaving behind traces of their presence. Some believe these spirits are attached to the hotel due to unresolved matters or strong emotional connections, replaying gestures, movements, and routines from their former lives. Others suggest the building itself, with its aged interiors and preserved structure, serves as a conduit for residual energy, amplifying subtle occurrences into perceivable manifestations for the living. Even after the hotel's public areas quiet and the corridors empty, doors swing open and closed with no wind. Chairs slide across floors, and lights flicker sporadically. Shadowy figures drift along hallways, sometimes entering rooms for brief moments before vanishing. Faint whispers echo from corners and stairwells, and the sensation of unseen eyes watching never fully dissipates. Security cameras continue to capture strange orbs and fleeting silhouettes, a visual reminder of the persistent invisible presence within the building. The Columns Hotel in Alexandria, Louisiana, is a landmark of history and Southern charm, renowned for its classic architecture, elegant interiors, and rich past. Built during a period when Alexandria was a bustling cultural and commercial center, the hotel has hosted countless travelers, dignitaries, and locals over the decades. Yet, beyond its luxurious accommodations and storied reputation, the hotel has hosted countless travelers, dignitaries, and locals over the decades. Guests, staff, and paranormal investigators alike have reported a variety of spectral phenomena, including apparitions appearing in rooms, phantom footsteps echoing through hallways, and chairs moving independently. Including apparitions appearing in rooms, phantom footsteps echoing through hallways, and chairs moving independently. Ghost footage occasionally captures figures standing silently in corners. Many of the reported experiences occur in the guest rooms, particularly those in the original sections of the hotel. Visitors describe seeing shadowy figures standing near windows, at the foot of their beds, or along the walls. These apparitions often vanish when observed directly, leaving behind only the sense that someone or something remains present. Guests frequently report hearing soft whispers, faint murmurs, or distant voices in empty rooms. Sudden drops in temperature are another common phenomenon, with cold spots appearing in specific corners or near certain pieces of furniture. Some report that chairs, especially those placed near windows or tables, shift or move slightly without explanation, as if nudged by unseen hands. The hallways of the Columns Hotel are often the stage for persistent paranormal activity. Guests and staff have described the sensation of footsteps echoing in empty corridors, sometimes pacing or approaching from a distance. Flickering lights occasionally illuminate the hall unevenly, casting shadows that move in ways that do not correspond with the physical environment. Guests report seeing figures darting along the hallways, glimpses caught from the corner of the eye before disappearing when approached. Some visitors describe the unnerving feeling of being watched, a subtle but constant presence that heightens the sense of unease while walking through the hotel's historic passageways. Public spaces such as the lobby, lounges, and stairwells are also reported as sites of unexplained occurrences. Guests have experienced chairs sliding slightly across floors, doors swinging open and shut with no wind, and the soft creak of floorboards in areas where no one is present. Shadows are occasionally seen lingering near corners, columns, or doorways, vanishing when anyone approaches. Flickering lights often coincide with these occurrences, casting long, shifting shadows that enhance the eerie ambience. Staff members working late into the night frequently describe a sense of being observed, a presence that remains just out of sight but is strongly felt. Paranormal investigators have extensively studied the Columns Hotel and documented compelling evidence of supernatural activity. Cameras have captured shadowy figures moving silently through rooms, appearing for brief moments before vanishing entirely. Orbs of light are occasionally recorded floating along hallways or hovering near furniture, with no clear source. Audio equipment has picked up faint whispers, footsteps, and subtle knocks, often in rooms or corridors that appear empty. Investigators note that these phenomena are concentrated in the oldest parts of the hotel, where creaking floors, tall ceilings, and preserved architectural details seem to amplify both natural and paranormal sounds. Staff working overnight shifts frequently report experiences that defy logical explanation. Housekeeping personnel have described feeling a presence following them as they clean rooms, hearing doors open or close without reason, and sensing a silent observer in hallways. Security officers often witness lights flickering, shadowy forms at the edge of their vision, or furniture moving slightly on its own. The recurring nature of these reports over decades adds to the hotel's reputation as a hub of unexplained activity. And many long-term employees consider the presence of spirits a fact of life at the Columns Hotel. Guests sometimes report more intense activity in rooms associated with historical events or prominent past visitors. Shadows and figures are more frequently observed in these spaces, as though replaying moments from the past. These experiences leave visitors with a profound sense of the hotel's history and the lingering presence of those who once walked its halls. The hotel's rich history likely contributes to the pervasive atmosphere of the unexplained. Over the decades, countless individuals, guests, staff, entertainers, and dignitaries have passed through its doors, leaving behind traces of their lives. Some paranormal researchers believe that certain spirits may remain tethered to the hotel through unresolved events or emotional attachments, replaying actions and gestures from long ago. Others suggest that the building itself, with its aged structure and carefully preserved interiors, may act as a conduit for residual energy, creating an environment where past and present intersect. Even after the public space is quiet and the hallways are empty, chairs shift slightly on their own, doors swing without wind, and shadows drift silently along corridors. Whispered voices, faint footsteps, and subtle movements create the impression that unseen presences continue to observe the living. Cameras occasionally capture figures standing silently in corners, further evidence of the lingering spirits that inhabit the hotel. Originally built as a medical facility in the 19th century, the building functioned for decades as a hospital, serving countless patients during times of illness, epidemics, and social upheaval. Over time, guests and staff have reported unusual occurrences that hint at the building's haunted past. Accounts include ghostly patients walking the halls, faint cries echoing through empty rooms, and shadowy figures lingering near abandoned wings. Paranormal cameras have captured movement in areas where no one is expected, lending credence to stories that the spirits of the Hotel Dua's past still roam its corridors. The guest rooms, especially those that once served as hospital wards, are often cited as sites of paranormal activity. Visitors report cold drafts appearing suddenly, even in rooms with all windows closed. Shadows have been observed standing near doors, at the foot of beds, or gliding along walls. Some guests describe hearing soft murmurs or faint cries, indistinct but emotionally heavy, evoking a sense of unease that persists throughout the night. Objects in the room occasionally move independently. Chairs may shift slightly, or personal items appear to be displaced. Many visitors describe an overwhelming feeling that they are not alone, a presence that is both watchful and sorrowful, echoing the hospitala's history of care, pain, and healing. Hallways, particularly those that were once used as patient corridors, are frequently associated with unexplained phenomena. Guests report hearing footsteps echoing along the floors when no one is present. Flickering lights create shadows that stretch and twist along walls, giving the impression of figures moving just beyond perception. Some visitors catch glimpses of shadowy forms moving in and out of sight, vanishing when approached. Others describe sudden feelings of being watched or gently brushed by unseen hands, particularly near doorways or at the ends of long, abandoned corridors. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences contributes to the Hotel Dieu's eerie reputation. Public spaces in the building, such as former common areas, lounges, and stairwells, also hold traces of paranormal activity. Guests and staff report hearing faint coughing whispers and the rustle of movement in areas that appear empty. Doors occasionally open and close without cause, and lights flicker in unexplainable patterns. Shadows have been observed near staircases or along the edges of hallways, sometimes standing still before dissolving into nothingness. Staff working late hours often describe the sensation of a presence lingering nearby, a subtle but persistent awareness that someone unseen is moving through the building, documenting compelling evidence of activity. Orbs of light have been recorded hovering near beds or along hallways, moving in ways that defy explanation. Investigators note that these occurrences are especially frequent in the older sections of the hotel, where original floors, ceilings, and architectural details seem to enhance the perception of supernatural phenomena. Staff members working overnight shifts report frequent encounters with the unexplained. Housekeeping personnel often feel a presence in rooms as they clean, hear doors creak or close unexpectedly, and notice faint movements near corners or windows. Security staff observe lights flickering or hear footsteps pacing hallways that are otherwise empty. Many describe the sensation of being watched, a presence that persists until they leave the area or finish their rounds. The repetition of these experiences over years has contributed to the hotel's reputation as a genuinely haunted location, one where the spirits of the past remain active and aware of the living. Certain areas of the Hotel Dieu seem particularly prone to intense paranormal activity, especially the wings that were once isolated patient wards or operating rooms. Guests have reported the appearance of figures in these spaces, moving silently as though tending to tasks or wandering aimlessly. Doors slam without explanation, faint cries echo through the hallways, and fleeting shadows appear in corners or near windows. Visitors often leave these areas with a heightened sense of the building's history, sensing the lives, struggles, and emotions of those who once inhabited the rooms. The building's history as a hospital provides context for its spectral inhabitants. Decades of medical care, illness, and death likely left strong emotional impressions. And some believe these impressions manifest as residual energy that interacts with the living. Other spirits may remain tethered to the building through unresolved experiences. continuing to inhabit the halls and rooms as they did in life. The combination of architectural preservation and historical significance makes the Hotel Dieu a unique environment where memory, emotion, and spectral presence converge. Even after public areas quiet and guests retire to their rooms, paranormal activity continues. Footsteps echo down empty corridors. Doors swing open and closed without wind, and shadowy figures drift silently through hallways. Lights flicker sporadically, casting shapes that seem to watch, while faint whispers and distant cries linger in the air. Cameras continue to record fleeting, unexplainable movement, a reminder that the spirits of the past are never truly gone. The Frenchman Hotel in New Orleans, located in the heart of the Frenchman Street Entertainment District, is celebrated for its vibrant atmosphere, rich history, and architectural charm. Built decades ago, the hotel has welcomed countless visitors seeking the energy and culture of New Orleans, from tourists to musicians and artists. Yet beneath its lively exterior lies a more mysterious, unexplained side. Over the years, guests and staff have reported a variety of paranormal phenomena, including flickering lights, sudden cold drafts, and shadows moving along the corridors. Security footage has captured indistinct figures gliding past doorways late at night, suggesting that the Frenchman Hotel is not only a hub of music and culture, but also a site where the past lingers in spectral form. Many of the reported occurrences take place in the guest rooms, particularly in the older sections of the hotel. Visitors frequently describe sudden drops in temperature that appear in specific areas of a room, even when windows and doors are closed. Shadows have been seen moving along walls or near furniture, vanishing as soon as they are noticed directly. Some guests report hearing faint whispers, often indecipherable, and the soft shuffle of footsteps on floors that should be empty. Objects in rooms sometimes shift slightly without explanation, and chairs or small tables have been observed moving independently. These phenomena create an unsettling atmosphere, leaving guests with the feeling that they are not alone, that the hotel itself holds memories that refuse to remain silent. The hallways of the Frenchman Hotel are also a frequent location for strange activity. Guests and staff alike have reported hearing footsteps echoing down long corridors when no one is present. Flickering lights cast moving shadows that stretch and twist along the walls, giving the impression of figures passing just beyond sight. Some visitors describe catching glimpses of shapes moving at the edge of their vision, figures that vanish when approached. Others recount the unnerving sensation of being watched as they walk from one end of the corridor to the other, a presence that seems to observe silently but persistently. Public spaces, including the lobby, stairwells, and communal lounges, have also been linked to unexplained occurrences. Guests sometimes hear whispers in empty rooms, the faint rustling of movement, or the soft creaking of floorboards as if someone unseen is pacing. Doors occasionally swing open or shut without wind, and chairs may slide slightly across the floor. Shadows have been observed near columns, doorways, and staircases, often lingering momentarily before fading into darkness. Staff members working late into the night often describe the sensation of a presence nearby, a subtle awareness that someone or something is moving through the hotel unseen, yet undeniably felt. Paranormal investigators have studied the Frenchman Hotel, documenting evidence that supports these reports. Security cameras have captured blurry, indistinct figures moving silently through hallways and past doorways, appearing for brief moments before vanishing. Orbs of light have been recorded in guest rooms and corridors, moving in ways that defy logical explanation. Audio equipment occasionally picks up faint whispers, footsteps, and other subtle sounds, even in areas that are verified to be empty. Investigators note that these occurrences are concentrated in the oldest portions of the building, where original architectural features such as high ceilings, hardwood floors, and narrow corridors may amplify both natural and unexplained phenomena. Staff who work overnight shifts have reported repeated encounters with the hotel's mysterious residents. Housekeeping personnel often feel the sensation of being watched as they clean rooms or corridors, hear doors opening or closing without reason, and notice subtle movements in the shadows. Security staff sometimes witness lights flickering or shadows at the edge of their vision, and describe an almost tangible presence following them along hallways. Many long-term employees consider these experiences a normal part of working at the Frenchman Hotel, an acknowledgement that the building itself carries an awareness of its past inhabitants. Certain rooms and corridors seem particularly prone to paranormal activity. Guests report experiencing stronger sensations of presence, hearing whispers, or observing fleeting figures in corners. Doors may slam unexpectedly, and cold drafts appear in locations with no ventilation. Some visitors have described shadowy forms moving toward windows or standing silently in hallways before vanishing. These areas, often corresponding with older parts of the hotel, appear to act as hotspots for activity, preserving echoes of lives once lived and moments long past. The hotel's history, rooted in the culture and vibrancy of New Orleans, may explain the lingering energy that many sense. Decades of guests, performers, and staff passing through have left traces of their presence, some of which manifest as residual energy or spirits tethered to the building. These entities may replay gestures, movements, and routines from their former lives, interacting with the living in subtle, sometimes startling ways. The combination of preserved architecture, historical significance, and emotional resonance contributes to the Frenchman Hotel's unique supernatural ambience. Even after the bustling public areas empty and the lights dim, paranormal activity continues. Doors open and close without cause. Chairs shift across floors, and shadows drift silently through hallways. And whispered voices and faint footsteps echo from empty rooms and corridors. And security cameras often capture figures gliding past doorways where no one is expected. Every flicker of light, every shifting shadow, and every cold draft seems to carry the weight of decades of history, leaving a lasting impression on those who remain after dark. Dating back decades, this historic inn has welcomed countless travelers, local visitors, and dignitaries, providing warmth, comfort, and southern charm. Yet behind its elegant FAA section ade and classic architecture lies a history imbued with unexplained phenomena. Guests, staff, and paranormal investigators alike have reported an array of ghostly activity, including whispers in empty rooms, doors opening and closing on their own, and fleeting shadows captured on camera. These experiences have earned the columns in a reputation as one of Baton Rouge's most haunted establishments, where the past and present coexist in eerie harmony. Visitors frequently describe sudden drops in temperature, often in specific corners of a room, despite windows and doors being securely closed. Shadows have been observed moving along walls, near beds, or across floors, disappearing as soon as they are directly noticed. Guests report hearing soft whispers, faint murmurs, or indistinct voices that seem to come from nowhere. Some have felt the sensation of being touched or brushed by invisible hands, an unsettling reminder of the unseen presences inhabiting these spaces. Furniture, particularly chairs and small tables, sometimes moves independently, as if nudged by invisible occupants. These experiences leave a lingering sense of unease, creating an atmosphere where the boundary between the living and the spectral is blurred. The hallways of the columns are another stage for supernatural activity. Guests and staff have reported hearing footsteps echoing in corridors long after public areas have emptied. Flickering lights cast shifting shadows that stretch and twist along walls, often giving the impression of figures passing just out of sight. Some visitors describe glimpsing shadowy forms at the edge of their vision, figures that vanish when approached. Others recount the pervasive feeling of being watched, a subtle awareness that someone or something unseen is moving silently through the halls. These encounters often occur in the oldest parts of the building, where original architectural features, such as hardwood floors, tall ceilings, and narrow corridors, seem to amplify both natural and unexplained phenomena. Public spaces, including the lobby, lounges, and stairwells, have their own share of reported activity. Guests occasionally hear whispers in empty rooms, the faint shuffle of movement across floors, or soft creaks from overhead ceilings. Doors have been observed opening and closing on their own, sometimes with enough force to startle unsuspecting visitors. Shadows appear near staircases or along hallway edges, lingering for a moment before fading into darkness. Staff members working late shifts often report the sensation of a presence following them. A quiet, almost imperceptible awareness that something or something is observing their movements. These experiences contribute to the INA's enduring reputation as a site of supernatural intrigue. Paranormal investigators have documented compelling evidence at the Columns Inn. Cameras have captured shadowy forms moving silently through hallways and rooms, appearing briefly before vanishing without explanation. Orbs of light have been recorded floating near furniture or along corridors, moving in ways that defy logical explanation. Audio devices frequently pick up faint whispers, footsteps, and subtle knocks, often in areas verified to be empty. Investigators have noted that the majority of these manifestations occur in the INA's older sections, where preserved architecture and historical details may act as conduits for lingering energy. Staff members who work overnight shifts report repeated encounters with unexplained activity. Housekeeping personnel often sense a presence following them as they clean rooms, hear doors creak or slam unexpectedly, and notice faint movements in the shadows. Security staff report flickering lights and shadowy figures at the periphery of their vision, sometimes accompanied by unexplained sounds or sudden temperature drops. Many long-term employees accept these experiences as part of the building's character, acknowledging that the INA's history has left an indelible mark on its atmosphere. Certain rooms and corridors appear particularly prone to paranormal activity. Guests describe shadowy forms moving along walls, doors opening and closing on their own, and whispers that seem to echo from empty corners. Cold spots frequently appear in areas without ventilation, and fleeting figures have been observed standing silently near windows or furniture. These spaces, often corresponding to the oldest portions of the inn, seem to serve as hotspots for supernatural energy, preserving echoes of past events and encounters. The history of the Columns Inn offers context for its haunted reputation. Over the decades, countless travelers and staff members have passed through its doors, each leaving traces of their presence. Some spirits may be tethered to the inn through unresolved experiences, emotional connections, or significant moments in their lives. Paranormal experts suggest that the preserved architecture, combined with the building's long history, creates an environment where residual energy is amplified, allowing past and present to coexist in ways perceptible to the living. Even after the public area is quiet and the hallways empty, paranormal activity persists. Doors swing without cause. Chairs shift subtly across floors, and shadows drift silently through corridors. Whispers and faint footsteps echo from empty rooms, and security cameras occasionally capture fleeting, unexplained movement. Every flicker of light, creak of floorboards, and shifting shadow seems to carry the weight of decades of history, leaving guests with the sense that the past is never truly gone. The Hotel St. Pierre in New Orleans, situated in the heart of the historic French Quarter, is known for its charming architecture, rich history, and unique ambience. Built decades ago, the hotel has welcomed countless visitors seeking the culture, music, and culinary delights of the city. Yet beneath its picturesque exterior lies a reputation for paranormal activity that has intrigued guests and staff alike. Reports of ghostly encounters include footsteps echoing in vacant hallways, doors opening and closing without cause, and shadowy figures glimpsed in guest rooms. Security footage has occasionally captured fleeting, indistinct forms, reinforcing the idea that the Hotel St. Pierre is not only a hub of hospitality, but also a place where the past lingers in spectral form. Many of the reported phenomena occur in the guest rooms, particularly those in the oldest sections of the building. Guests frequently describe sudden drops in temperature that seem localized, appearing in corners or near furniture with no ventilation present. Shadows are often seen moving along walls, around beds, or near windows, vanishing as soon as they are directly observed. Some visitors report hearing faint whispers or soft murmurs, voices that carry no discernible words but create a sense of unease. Others describe the sensation of being touched or brushed by unseen hands, or objects moving slightly on their own. Chairs may shift, small tables appear to have been nudged, and doors can be found slightly ajar even after being securely closed. The hallways of the Hotel St. Pierre are also a frequent location for strange activity. Guests and staff have described footsteps echoing along the corridors late at night, often pacing or approaching from unseen directions. Flickering lights cast long, shifting shadows that give the impression of figures gliding just beyond the edge of perception. Many have reported glimpses of shadowy shapes at the periphery of their vision, forms that disappear when approached. Some visitors describe an almost palpable feeling of being watched, a presence that moves silently along the halls. These experiences are particularly pronounced in the older wings, where original architecture, including narrow hallways, high ceilings, and worn wooden floors, amplifies sounds and movements, both natural and supernatural. Public areas, such as the lobby, lounges, and stairwells, have their own share of unexplained occurrences. Guests sometimes hear whispers in empty spaces, the faint shuffle of movement, or the creak of floorboards when no one is around. Doors have been observed opening and closing on their own, occasionally with enough force to startle visitors. Shadows appear near staircases or along hallway edges, sometimes lingering before dissolving into darkness. Staff working late-night shifts often report the sensation of a presence nearby, a quiet awareness that something or something is observing them as they move about the building. Paranormal investigators have documented compelling evidence of activity at the Hotel St. Pierre. Security cameras have captured blurry, indistinct figures moving silently through hallways and rooms, appearing for brief moments before vanishing. Orbs of light have occasionally been recorded floating in corridors or near furniture, moving in ways that defy logical explanation. Audio equipment has picked up faint whispers, footsteps, and subtle knocks, often in spaces verified to be empty. Investigators note that the majority of these manifestations are concentrated in the oldest parts of the building, suggesting that original architectural elements may enhance both the perception and the presence of paranormal activity. Staff working overnight shifts often recount repeated encounters with the unexplained. Housekeeping personnel frequently sense a presence following them as they clean, hear doors creak or close unexpectedly, and notice subtle movements in shadows. Security staff observe flickering lights or shadowy forms at the edge of vision, occasionally accompanied by unexplained sounds or sudden temperature drops. Many long-term employees have come to accept these experiences as part of the hotel's character, acknowledging that the building itself retains the impressions of those who passed through its halls over the decades. Certain rooms and corridors appear particularly prone to activity. Guests report shadowy forms moving along walls, doors opening or closing unexpectedly, and whispers that seem to echo from empty corners. Cold spots frequently appear in areas with no ventilation, and fleeting figures are often seen standing silently near windows or furniture. These areas, often in the oldest sections of the hotel, serve as hotspots for supernatural energy, preserving echoes of past moments and interactions. The hotel's long history provides context for its haunted reputation. Over decades, countless guests, staff members, and visitors have passed through its doors, leaving traces of their presence behind. Some spirits may remain tethered to the building due to unresolved events, emotional attachments, or significant moments in life. Paranormal experts suggest that the preserved architecture, combined with the building's rich history, creates an environment where residual energy is amplified, allowing past and present to coexist in ways perceptible to the living. Even after public areas quiet and hallways are empty, paranormal activity persists. Doors swing without cause, chairs shift slightly across floors, and shadows drift silently along corridors. And security cameras occasionally capture fleeting, unexplainable movement. Every flicker of light, creak of floorboards, and shifting shadow, leaving visitors with a sense that the past is never truly gone. The Windsor Court in New Orleans, a luxurious hotel renowned for elegance and sophistication, has long been a site where history and mystery intertwine. Built with classic architecture and lavish interiors, the hotel attracts visitors from around the world seeking comfort and refinement. Yet beneath its polished surfaces and grand ballrooms, there exists a layer of unexplained phenomena that has captivated the curiosity of guests, staff, and paranormal investigators alike. Reports include whispers in empty rooms, figures appearing in mirrors, and chairs moving on their own. Paranormal cameras have captured orbs of light and shadowy presences drifting through ballrooms and corridors, suggesting that the Windsor Court is more than a luxurious retreat. It is a place where lingering spirits quietly observe the living. Many guests first encounter the unexplained in their rooms. Visitors often report sudden, inexplicable drops in temperature, particularly in corners or near windows, even when the HVAC system is off. Shadows appear to move along walls or across the room, vanishing when directly observed. Some guests describe seeing fleeting figures reflected in mirrorless apparitions standing silently behind them or moving across the reflection, only to disappear when turned toward them. Faint whispers, often indecipherable, are frequently reported in the quiet hours of the night, adding an eerie undertone to the hotel's otherwise serene atmosphere. Objects such as chairs or small tables occasionally shift on their own, reinforcing the impression that unseen presences inhabit the rooms alongside guests. The corridors and hallways of the Windsor Court are particularly active according to witness accounts. Guests and staff report footsteps echoing along empty hallways late at night, often approaching from unseen directions. Lights flicker unpredictably, casting elongated shadows that twist along walls, giving the impression of figures gliding just beyond vision. Some visitors describe the feeling of being watched, a subtle awareness of a presence moving silently behind or beside them. Shadowy forms are often seen at the edge of perception, vanishing when approached. These experiences are especially common in the older wings of the hotel, where high ceilings, hardwood floors, and narrow hallways amplify the sounds and movements that contribute to the hotel's haunted reputation. Public spaces such as ballrooms, lounges, and stairwells also show evidence of paranormal activity. Guests report the sensation of movement in empty rooms, the faint sound of whispers, and objects shifting slightly without explanation. Chairs have been observed moving independently, and doors occasionally open or close with no apparent cause. Shadowy forms are sometimes seen standing near columns, at the edges of the ballroom, or along staircases, lingering for moments before fading into darkness. Staff working late hours frequently describe the presence of an unseen observer, a subtle awareness that something is following them through the hotel. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences has led many to regard the Windsor Court as one of New Orleans' most compelling haunted locations. Paranormal investigators have documented intriguing evidence at the hotel. Security cameras and motion-activated devices have captured shadowy figures gliding through corridors and large rooms, appearing momentarily before vanishing without a trace. Orbs of light are often recorded drifting through ballrooms or near mirrors, moving in ways that defy conventional explanation. Audio equipment has picked up faint whispers, footsteps, and the subtle creak of movement, frequently in areas verified to be empty. Investigators note that these occurrences are concentrated in sections of the hotel with original architecture, suggesting that the preservation of historical design may enhance or sustain residual energy. Overnight staff report repeated encounters with the unexplained. Housekeeping personnel often feel the sensation of being watched as they clean rooms or hallways, hear doors creak or slam unexpectedly, and notice fleeting movements in the shadows. Security staff observe lights flickering, shadowy figures in peripheral vision, and occasionally hear footsteps or whispers without an apparent source. Many long-term employees accept these experiences as part of the hotel's unique atmosphere, acknowledging that the building itself holds the echoes of those who passed through its halls over the decades. Certain rooms, corridors, and ballrooms appear particularly prone to activity. Guests report shadows moving along walls, doors opening or closing unexpectedly, and whispers that seem to come from nowhere. Cold spots frequently appear in areas with no ventilation, and figures have been observed standing silently near windows or furniture. These locations, often corresponding to the oldest parts of the building, serve as focal points for supernatural energy, preserving echoes of past occupants and the events that took place within the hotel. The history of the Windsor Court provides context for the presence of spirits. The hotel has hosted countless visitors over decades, each leaving traces of their presence. Some spirits may remain tethered to the building due to unresolved events, emotional attachments, or significant moments in life. Paranormal experts suggest that the preserved architecture, combined with the hotel's long history, creates an environment where residual energy is concentrated, allowing past and present to coexist in ways that are perceptible to the living. even after the grand ballroom's quiet and the corridors empty. Paranormal activity continues. Doors swing open or closed without cause. Chairs slide across floors. And shadows drift silently through the hallways. Whispered voices and faint footsteps echo from empty rooms. And security cameras occasionally capture fleeting, unexplained figures. Every flicker of light, creak of a floorboard, and shifting shadow carries the weight of decades of history, leaving visitors with the sense that the past never truly departs. The Bourbon House Hotel in New Orleans, a historic building nestled in the heart of the French Quarter, is celebrated for its classic charm, rich architecture, and prime location among the city's vibrant streets. Yet beneath the elegance and hospitality lies a reputation for unexplained phenomena that has intrigued guests, staff, and paranormal investigators for years. The upper floors, in particular, are the focus of many haunting reports. Visitors have captured shadowy figures on video, heard phantom footsteps echoing through empty hallways, and sensed faint voices when no one is present. Cold spots frequently appear in areas without air conditioning, adding to the hotel's eerie and mysterious reputation. Many of the reported hauntings occur in the guest rooms, especially those on the upper levels. Guests often describe sudden drops in temperature in specific corners or near furniture, creating an unmistakable chill in the otherwise warm and quiet room. Shadows have been observed moving across floors or along walls, vanishing the moment they are directly looked at. Some visitors report hearing faint, indistinct voices or whispers, often too soft to comprehend, yet unmistakably present. Others describe the sensation of being brushed by unseen hands or the subtle movement of objects in the room, such as chairs sliding slightly or small tables shifting without explanation. These occurrences create an unsettling awareness that the room is not entirely unoccupied. The hallways of the Bourbon House Hotel are a frequent site of paranormal activity. Guests and staff alike have described the sound of footsteps echoing along empty corridors, often pacing or approaching from unseen directions. Lights may flicker unexpectedly, casting elongated shadows that stretch and twist along the walls, giving the impression of figures moving just beyond perception. Some visitors report glimpsing shadowy forms in their peripheral vision. Others feel an intense sense of being watched as they traverse the corridors, a subtle presence following them silently. The upper floors, in particular, seem to amplify these experiences, possibly due to older architecture, narrow hallways, and original wooden floors that carry sound and movement in unusual ways. Public areas, including stairwells, lounges, and shared corridors, are also associated with unexplained phenomena. Guests sometimes hear whispers or faint murmurs in rooms that are otherwise empty, accompanied by the sound of footsteps or soft creaking from above. Doors occasionally swing open or closed without cause, and chairs or other lightweight furniture may shift slightly. Shadowy forms are sometimes glimpsed standing near staircases or along hallway edges, lingering for moments before fading into darkness. Staff members working overnight shifts have often described the sensation of being accompanied by an unseen presence, an awareness of someone silently observing their movements. Paranormal investigators have conducted extensive research at the Bourbon House Hotel, documenting a variety of compelling evidence. Security cameras and motion-activated recording devices have captured blurry, indistinct figures gliding through hallways and appearing briefly in guest rooms. Orbs of light have been recorded drifting through corridors and near furniture, moving in ways that defy explanation. Audio equipment has picked up faint whispers, footsteps, and subtle knocks in spaces verified to be empty. Investigators have noted that these phenomena are concentrated on the upper floors, particularly in areas where original architecture remains largely untouched, suggesting that the hotel's design and history may contribute to the presence and amplification of paranormal energy. Staff working late shifts frequently recount encounters with unexplained activity. Housekeeping personnel report the sensation of being watched as they clean rooms and corridors, hearing doors creak or slam unexpectedly, and observing subtle movements in shadows. Security staff describe flickering lights, shadowy forms at the edge of their vision, and occasionally the sound of footsteps or murmurs with no visible source. Long-term employees have come to accept these experiences as part of the hotel's character. acknowledging that the building itself holds remnants of past lives and activities. Certain rooms and sections of the upper floors appear prone to activity. Guests report shadowy figures moving along walls, doors opening and closing independently. Whispers echo from corners, creating an unnerving sensation for those present. Cold spots often appear in areas with no ventilation, creating an unsettling atmosphere. Fleeting figures may stand silently near windows or furniture, disappearing as quickly as they appear. These areas seem to act as focal points for supernatural energy, preserving traces of the hotel's past occupants. The Bourbon House Hotel's long history provides context for its hauntings. Over decades, countless guests and staff members have passed through its doors, leaving subtle impressions behind. Some spirits may remain tethered to the hotel because of unresolved events, strong emotional attachments, or significant moments in life. Experts in paranormal activity suggest that the combination of preserved architecture and the building's history creates an environment in which residual energy persists, allowing past and present to coexist in perceptible ways. Even after public areas are empty and the hallways quiet, paranormal activity continues. Doors swing without cause. Chairs shift slightly across floors. Shadows drift silently through corridors. And faint whispers and footsteps echo from empty rooms. Every flicker of light, creak of the floor, and shifting shadow carries the weight of decades of history, leaving visitors with the impression that the past is never truly gone. The Hotel Provincial in New Orleans, nestled in the heart of the French Quarter, is a striking blend of historical charm and modern hospitality. Its elegant architecture and prime location have made it a favorite for visitors seeking both comfort and immersion in the city's storied culture. Yet beyond its refined FAA sectionade, the hotel has earned a reputation for mysterious and unexplained occurrences. Guests frequently report seeing shadowy forms walking past balconies, hearing ghostly whispers, and witnessing doors slam without any apparent cause. Security footage has occasionally captured inexplicable movement in the hallways, reinforcing the notion that the Hotel Provincial is a place where the past lingers in unexpected ways. Much of the activity is concentrated in the guest rooms and corridors of the hotel. Visitors often describe sudden drops in temperature, particularly near corners, doorways, or furniture, despite the absence of any air currents or active ventilation. Shadows have been observed moving along walls, across floors, or near beds, disappearing the moment they are directly acknowledged. Guests report hearing faint whispers, unintelligible murmurs, or voices that seem to float through the room from no discernible source. Some even describe feeling brushed by unseen hands, or sensing an unseen presence standing close by. Chairs and small pieces of furniture occasionally shift slightly, creating a subtle but unmistakable awareness that the room is not entirely empty. The hallways of the Hotel Provincial are often described as eerie after dark. Guests and staff have reported footsteps echoing in long corridors, sometimes pacing, sometimes approaching and receding without ever revealing their source. Lights may flicker unexpectedly, casting shadows that stretch and distort along walls, creating the impression of figures moving just beyond sight. Shadowy shapes have been glimpsed in peripheral vision, lingering momentarily before vanishing. Some visitors experience the unsettling sensation of being watched as they move through the corridors, as though unseen eyes track their every step. The older sections of the hotel, with their high ceilings, narrow hallways, and hardwood floors, seem to amplify these phenomena, adding to the sense of a building steeped in both history and mystery. Public spaces within the hotel, including stairwells, lounges, and balcony areas, also host paranormal occurrences. Guests often hear whispers in rooms that are otherwise empty, accompanied by the faint shuffle of movement or creaking floorboards. Doors have been seen to open or close on their own, sometimes with a sudden force that startles those nearby. Shadowy figures have been glimpsed on balconies, along staircases, or at the edges of lounges, lingering just long enough to be noticed before dissolving into nothingness. Staff working late shifts frequently report the sensation of a presence, a quiet awareness that something unseen is moving alongside them. Paranormal investigators have documented compelling evidence of activity at the Hotel Provincial. Security cameras have recorded fleeting, indistinct shapes gliding along hallways and appearing briefly in guest rooms. Orbs of light occasionally drift through corridors or near furniture, moving in ways that cannot be explained by natural causes. Audio devices have captured faint whispers, footsteps, and subtle knocks, often in areas confirmed to be empty. Investigators have noted that these manifestations are most common in the older sections of the hotel, where original architectural details remain intact, suggesting that these elements may contribute to the persistence of supernatural energy. Overnight staff often recount encounters with unexplained phenomena. Housekeeping personnel describe feeling a presence following them as they clean rooms and hallways, hearing doors creak or slam unexpectedly, and noticing shadows moving subtly at the edge of their vision. Security staff report flickering lights, shadowy forms, and the occasional sound of footsteps or whispers without visible origin. Many long-term employees accept these experiences as part of the hotel's atmosphere, acknowledging that the building itself retains the traces of past guests, staff, and events. Guests frequently report shadowy figures moving along walls, doors opening and closing independently, and whispers emanating from empty corners. Fleeting figures are sometimes observed standing silently near windows or furniture before vanishing without warning. The residual energy takes on a life of its own, manifesting as unexplained phenomena and unsettling occurrences. The history of the Hotel Provincial provides context for its haunting reputation. Over decades, countless visitors and staff members have passed through its doors, leaving subtle traces of their presence. Some spirits may remain tethered to the building because of unresolved events, strong emotional attachments, or significant moments in their lives. Paranormal experts suggest that the preserved architecture, combined with the hotel's long-standing history, creates an environment where residual energy can persist, allowing past and present to coexist in ways that are perceptible to the living. Even after public areas empty and the corridors fall silent, shadows drift silently along hallways, and faint whispers echo from empty rooms. Every creak of a floorboard, flicker of light, and movement of shadow carries the weight of decades of history, leaving visitors with the sense that the past is never truly gone. The Monteleone Annex in New Orleans, an extension of the famous Hotel Monteleone, is known for offering guests additional accommodations and modern comforts while maintaining the charm of the French Quarter. Yet beyond its polished copyright COR and elegant amenities, the Annex has developed a reputation for paranormal activity that rivals its parent hotel. Visitors have reported ghostly laughter echoing through the hallways, sudden cold drafts in areas with no ventilation, and shadowy figures moving silently through rooms and corridors. Paranormal cameras have occasionally captured fleeting images of these apparitions, reinforcing the idea that the Monteleone Annex is more than a place to stay, it is a space where the past lingers alongside the living. Much of the paranormal activity is reported in guest rooms, especially those on the upper floors. Guests frequently describe sudden drops in temperature that seem isolated to certain areas, corners of the room, or near furnishings. Some guests hear ghostly laughter, faint and distant, echoing through the room when no one else is present. Others report hearing whispers or soft murmurs that seem to come from nowhere, creating a sense of unease. The sensation of being touched or brushed by invisible hands has also been described, along with the subtle movement of objects such as chairs or small tables. These experiences leave visitors with a heightened awareness that they are not entirely alone. The corridors of the Monteleone Annex are particularly active according to many reports. Guests and staff describe footsteps echoing through the hallways, often approaching from unseen directions or pacing in patterns that have no logical source. Lights flicker unexpectedly, casting elongated shadows that twist along walls and ceilings, giving the impression of figures moving just beyond perception. Some visitors report seeing shadowy shapes at the periphery of their vision, disappearing when directly observed. Others describe the sensation of being watched, as though an unseen presence is following them silently. These experiences are most pronounced in older sections of the annex, where preserved architectural features and narrow hallways, high ceilings, and polished wooden floors appear to amplify both sound and the perception of paranormal activity. Public areas of the annex, including lounges, stairwells, and hallways connecting guest rooms, also host unexplained occurrences. Guests sometimes hear whispers in rooms or corridors that are otherwise empty, accompanied by soft creaks and subtle sounds of movement. Doors open and close without explanation, sometimes startling those nearby. Shadowy figures are occasionally seen standing at the edges of rooms or along hallways, lingering just long enough to be noticed before vanishing into darkness. Staff working late-night shifts often report the sensation of an unseen presence moving alongside them, quietly observing their actions. These repeated experiences contributes to the annex's reputation as a location rich with supernatural activity. Paranormal investigators have documented compelling evidence at the Monteleone Annex. Security cameras and motion-activated recording devices have captured blurry, indistinct shapes gliding through hallways. Orbs of light occasionally drift through corridors or near furniture, moving in ways that defy conventional explanation. Audio equipment has recorded faint whispers, laughter, and footsteps in areas verified to be empty. Investigators note that the majority of these phenomena are concentrated in the upper floors and older areas of the annex, suggesting that the preserved architectural elements may enhance or sustain residual energy. Overnight staff frequently recount encounters with unexplained activity. Housekeeping personnel describe feeling watched as they move through rooms and corridors, hearing doors creak or slam unexpectedly, and noticing subtle movements in shadows. Security staff report flickering lights, shadowy forms in peripheral vision. Occasionally the sound of footsteps or laughter without an identifiable source. Long-term employees have come to accept these phenomena as part of the Annexa's character, acknowledging that the building retains echoes of previous occupants and events. Certain rooms, hallways, and connecting corridors appear especially prone to activity. Guests often report shadows moving along walls, doors opening and closing independently. Ghostly laughter or whispers come from unseen corners. Cold spots appear suddenly in areas with no ventilation, creating a persistent sensation of a presence nearby. Fleeting figures sometimes stand silently near windows or furniture, disappearing without warning. These locations act as focal points for residual energy, preserving traces of previous occupants and the moments they left behind. The Monteleone Annexa's rich history provides context for its hauntings. Over decades, countless guests and staff members have passed through its halls, leaving subtle impressions behind. Some spirits may remain tethered to the building because of unresolved events, emotional attachments, or significant life experiences. Paranormal experts suggest that the combination of preserved architecture, long-standing occupancy, and historical significance creates an environment where residual energy persists, allowing past and present to coexist in perceptible ways. Even after the hallways quiet and public areas are empty, paranormal activity continues. Doors swing without cause, and shadows drift silently through corridors. Faint whispers and laughter echo from empty rooms. Every creak of a floorboard, flicker of light, and subtle movement carries the weight of decades of history, leaving visitors with a sense that the past is never truly gone. The St. Louis Hotel in New Orleans stands as a landmark of history, elegance, and mystery in the heart of the French Quarter. Its grand ballrooms, sweeping staircases, and stately architecture attract visitors from around the world, seeking both comfort and a glimpse into the city's rich past. Yet behind its refined facades and luxurious interiors, the hotel has developed a reputation for paranormal activity that has fascinated both guests and investigators. Historic reports include ghostly figures appearing in the ballrooms, flickering lights that defy explanation, and mysterious cold spots that chill even in warm weather. Security footage has occasionally captured ghostly silhouettes moving through abandoned wings, adding to the hotel's enigmatic allure and reinforcing its status as a site where history and the supernatural intertwine. Much of the paranormal activity is concentrated in the guest rooms and corridors of the hotel. Visitors frequently report sudden drops in temperature, especially near corners, windows, or pieces of furniture. Shadows appear to shift along walls or across floors, vanishing when directly observed. Some guests have heard faint whispers or murmurs, often unintelligible yet clearly present, echoing through empty rooms. Others describe the sensation of being touched by an unseen presence or the subtle movement of objects, such as chairs slightly shifting or personal items displacing themselves inexplicably. These occurrences create a persistent feeling that the rooms are not entirely empty, leaving guests on edge as they try to understand the source of the disturbances. The ballrooms and public gathering areas of the St. Louis Hotel are frequently the focus of ghostly reports. Guests have witnessed shadowy figures gliding silently across the expansive floors or lingering near the edges of the room, disappearing without warning. The combination of high ceilings, polished floors, and expansive spaces seems to enhance both the sounds and sensations associated with the paranormal. In some cases, visitors report hearing footsteps, soft whispers, or even distant laughter, echoing in rooms where no one else is present. Hallways and stairwells are also hotspots for unexplained activity. Guests and staff alike describe the sound of footsteps following them down empty corridors, sometimes approaching, sometimes receding without revealing a source. Doors open and close seemingly on their own, and shadowy shapes have been seen at the edges of vision, disappearing the moment they are looked at directly. The sensation of being watched is frequently reported, particularly in the older sections of the hotel where original woodwork, high ceilings, and narrow passageways create an atmosphere ripe for heightened perception. Paranormal investigators have documented intriguing evidence at the St. Louis Hotel. Security cameras have captured fleeting silhouettes in abandoned wings and hallways, forms that appear for seconds before disappearing entirely. Motion-activated devices have recorded shadows gliding across floors and walls, often in areas confirmed to be empty. Orbs of light are occasionally observed drifting through corridors or near furniture, moving in ways that defy conventional explanation. Audio devices have picked up faint whispers, footsteps, and subtle creaks, frequently in locations verified to be unoccupied. Investigators note that the most concentrated activity occurs in the hotel's older sections, suggesting that preserved architecture and historical design may amplify residual energy. Staff working overnight shifts have reported repeated encounters with the unexplained. Housekeeping personnel describe feeling watched as they move through rooms and corridors, hearing doors creak or slam unexpectedly, and noticing fleeting movements in shadows. Security staff frequently report flickering lights, shadowy forms at the edge of vision, and unexplained noises such as footsteps or whispers. Long-term employees have come to accept these experiences as part of the hotel's unique character, acknowledging that the building retains echoes of previous occupants, staff, and events. Certain areas of the hotel are particularly prone to paranormal activity. Guests report shadows moving along walls, doors opening and closing independently, and whispering voices coming from empty corners. Cold spots often appear in sections of the building with no ventilation, and fleeting figures have been observed standing silently near windows or furniture, vanishing before they can be approached. These locations appear to act as focal points for residual energy, preserving the presence of past occupants and the moments they left behind. The history of the St. Louis Hotel provides insight into its haunted reputation. Over decades, countless guests, staff, and events have left traces behind, creating layers of energy that some spirits may remain tethered to. Paranormal experts suggest that unresolved events, emotional attachments, and significant historical moments can anchor spirits, allowing them to coexist with the living in perceptible ways. The combination of preserved architecture, historical significance, and long-term human occupancy creates an environment where past and present intersect, often manifesting as ghostly phenomena. Even after public areas have emptied and hallways have grown silent, doors swing without cause, shadows drift silently through corridors, and faint whispers echo from unoccupied rooms. Every creak of a floorboard, flicker of light, or subtle movement carries the weight of decades of history, leaving visitors with the impression that the past is never fully gone. The Hotel Mazarine, located in the heart of New Orleans' historic French Quarter, is renowned for its elegant architecture, vibrant courtyard, and boutique charm. Yet behind its inviting FAA Section Ade and luxurious interiors lies a reputation for unexplained phenomena that has intrigued guests and paranormal investigators alike. Visitors have reported hearing footsteps echoing through empty hallways, observing shadowy figures moving past room doors, and hearing whispers in French drifting down the corridors. Paranormal investigators have documented fleeting orbs and other mysterious visual anomalies on film, suggesting that the Hotel Mazarine is a place where the past continues to make its presence known. Many of the reported hauntings occur in the guest rooms and connecting corridors. Guests often describe sudden drops in temperature in specific corners or near furniture, creating a sharp and unexplainable chill. Shadows appear to shift along walls, across floors, or near beds, often vanishing when looked at directly. Some visitors report hearing whispers in French, soft and unintelligible, echoing down empty corridors. Others describe the sensation of being lightly touched or brushed by unseen hands, and objects such as chairs or small tables sometimes move slightly without cause. Others describe the sensation of being lightly touched or brushed by unseen hands, and objects such as chairs or small tables sometimes move slightly without cause. These experiences create a persistent awareness that the rooms and hallways are not entirely unoccupied. The hallways of the Hotel Mazarine are often cited as hotspots for paranormal activity. Guests and staff report the sound of footsteps following them through corridors, approaching or receding without revealing a visible source. Lights may flicker unexpectedly, casting elongated shadows that stretch across walls and floors, giving the impression of figures moving just out of sight. Some visitors experience an intense feeling of being watched as they move through the hallways, a sensation that lingers long after they have left the space. The combination of high ceilings, narrow passageways, and polished wood floors seems to amplify both sound and the perception of movement, contributing to the hotel's haunted reputation. Public spaces, including stairwells, lounges, and courtyard areas, also host unexplained phenomena. Guests report hearing whispers in rooms or corridors that are otherwise empty, accompanied by soft creaks and subtle movements. Doors have been known to open and close without explanation, startling those nearby. Shadowy figures sometimes appear near staircases, along hallways, or at the edges of lounges, lingering just long enough to be noticed before fading away. Staff working late-night shifts frequently report the sensation of being followed by an unseen presence, quietly observing their movements. These repeated experiences have contributed to the hotel's reputation as a site of consistent supernatural activity. Paranormal investigators have recorded compelling evidence within the hotel. Security cameras and motion-activated devices have captured fleeting, indistinct shapes gliding along hallways and appearing briefly in guest rooms. Orbs of light are occasionally seen drifting across corridors or near furniture, moving in ways that defy conventional explanation. Audio devices have picked up whispers, footsteps, and subtle knocks in areas verified to be empty. Investigators note that most of these occurrences are concentrated in the older parts of the building, suggesting that architectural features, such as narrow corridors, high ceilings, and preserved wooden floors, may contribute to the persistence or amplification of residual energy. Staff members working overnight shifts frequently recount encounters with the unexplained. Housekeeping personnel describe feeling watched as they move through rooms and corridors, hearing doors creak or slam unexpectedly, and noticing subtle movements in shadows. Security staff report flickering lights, shadowy forms at the edge of vision, and unexplained noises, including footsteps or whispered voices, in areas confirmed to be unoccupied. Long-term employees have come to accept these occurrences as part of the hotel's character, acknowledging that the building retains traces of previous guests, staff, and events that continue to manifest in mysterious ways. Certain areas of the hotel are particularly prone to activity. Guests report shadows moving along walls, doors opening and closing independently, and whispers emanating from empty corners. Cold spots appear suddenly in areas with no ventilation, and fleeting figures are sometimes seen standing silently near windows or furniture before vanishing. These locations appear to act as focal points for residual energy, preserving the impressions of past occupants and the moments they left behind. The Hotel Mazarine's long history provides context for its hauntings. Over decades, countless visitors and staff have passed through its halls, leaving behind subtle imprints of their presence. Countless visitors and staff have passed through its halls, leaving behind subtle imprints of their presence. Leaving behind subtle imprints of their presence. Some spirits may remain tethered to the building due to unresolved events, strong emotional attachments, or significant moments in life. Some spirits may remain tethered to the building due to unresolved events, strong emotional attachments, or significant moments in life. Unresolved events, strong emotional attachments, or significant moments in life create an environment where residual energy persists, allowing past and present to coexist in perceptible ways. Create an environment where residual energy persists, allowing past and present to coexist in perceptible ways. Allowing past and present to coexist in perceptible ways. Even after corridors grow silent and public areas empty. Paranormal activity continues. Doors swing without cause. Shadows drift silently along hallways. And whispers echo from empty rooms. Every creak of a floorboard, flicker of light, or subtle movement carries the weight of decades of history, leaving guests with the sense that the past is never fully gone. The old state capitol guest house in Baton Rouge is a building steeped in history, its walls echoing stories of the past and the lives once intertwined with its corridors. Constructed near the grounds where historic executions once took place, the guest house carries a somber legacy that some believe has left an indelible mark on the building itself. Over the years, visitors have reported ghostly figures appearing in rooms, faint screams drifting through empty hallways, and shadowy forms captured unexpectedly on surveillance cameras. These experiences have given the old state capitol guest house a reputation as one of Baton Rouge's most haunted locations, where the weight of history seems to linger long after the living have departed. Guests staying in the rooms often notice sudden and unexplained drops in temperature. Certain corners or areas of the room can feel icy even during warm nights, leaving an eerie chill that seems to settle into the bones. Shadows are frequently reported moving along walls, across floors, or near furniture, often vanishing the moment they are directly observed. Some guests have described hearing faint cries, muffled screams, or whispers in the dead of night, the voices sometimes echoing as if carried from a distant part of the building. Others report feeling touched or brushed by unseen hands. And in some instances, personal items such as chairs, books, or small objects shift ever so slightly without explanation. These subtle yet unsettling occurrences contribute to the pervasive feeling that the rooms themselves are not empty and that unseen presences continue to roam freely. Hallways and corridors of the old state capitol guest house are also known for paranormal activity. Visitors and staff alike describe the sound of footsteps echoing along long, narrow passageways, seemingly following them from room to room. The footsteps can approach and then recede, never revealing a source. Doors have been observed opening or closing independently, sometimes slamming with enough force to startle those nearby. Shadows have been glimpsed at the edges of vision, lingering near corners or moving silently across the floor, disappearing when looked at directly. Many visitors report a constant sensation of being watched as they traverse the hallways, a feeling that intensifies in the older sections of the building where architectural details have remained largely intact. The combination of high ceilings, narrow corridors, and polished floors seems to amplify both sound and the perception of movement, heightening the sense of unease. The feeling that intensifies in the older sections of the building where architectural details have remained largely intact. Public spaces, including stairwells, lounges, and common areas, are not immune to the unexplained. Guests frequently hear whispers or faint cries in spaces that are otherwise empty, accompanied by subtle creaking noises. Or the occasional movement of furniture. Shadowy figures have been observed standing near walls or at the edges of lounges, remaining just long enough to be noticed before fading into darkness. Staff working overnight shifts often report the sensation of an unseen presence following them, a quiet awareness that something is moving alongside them, unseen but tangible. These These recurring experiences have solidified the Bildinga's reputation as a location rich in paranormal activity. Paranormal investigators have gathered notable evidence over the years. Surveillance cameras have recorded shadowy forms gliding through hallways and appearing momentarily in guest rooms, often in areas that are unoccupied. Motion-activated devices have captured fleeting orbs and unusual light anomalies, moving in ways that cannot be explained by natural causes. Audio equipment has picked up faint screams, whispered voices, and subtle knocks, frequently originating from empty spaces. Investigators note that these phenomena are most pronounced in rooms closest to the historic sections of the property, suggesting that the preserved architecture and historical significance may amplify residual energy. Staff working late-night shifts often share stories of their own experiences. Housekeeping personnel describe feeling watched while cleaning rooms and hallways, hearing doors creak or slam unexpectedly, and observing shadows moving at the edge of their vision. Security personnel report flickering lights, unusual shapes in peripheral vision, and unexplained noises including footsteps, whispers, or faint cries even in areas confirmed to be empty. Long-term employees have come to accept these events as part of the Bildinga's character, recognizing that the old state capitol guest house retains echoes of past occupants and historical events. Certain rooms and hallways appear particularly prone to activity. Guests report seeing shadows shift along walls, doors swinging open or closed on their own, and faint, distant cries echoing from corners. Cold spots manifest in areas with no ventilation, and fleeting figures sometimes appear near windows or furniture before vanishing. These locations act as focal points for residual energy, preserving traces of those who lived, worked, or perished on or near the property. The history of the old state capitol guest house provides context for its haunting reputation. Built near the site of historical executions and other significant events, the building carries echoes of the lives and emotions of those who passed through or were associated with it. Paranormal experts suggest that unresolved tragedies, strong emotional imprints, and the weight of history can anchor spirits to the property, allowing them to manifest in ways perceptible to the living. The combination of preserved architecture, long-term human presence, and historical significance creates an environment where past and present intersect, often resulting in paranormal experiences. Even after hallways empty and rooms are vacated, unexplained phenomena persist. Doors swing without cause, shadows drift silently through corridors, and faint whispers or cries echo in empty spaces. Each creak of a floorboard, flicker of light, and subtle movement carries the weight of decades of history, leaving visitors with the impression that the past is never truly gone. The French Quarter Guest Hotel, nestled in the heart of New Orleans' historic district, combines modern comforts with the charm and character of one of the oldest neighborhoods in the United States. Yet beyond its inviting FAA Section 8s and quaint courtyards, the hotel has gained a reputation for unexplained phenomena that intrigue both guests and paranormal investigators. Visitors frequently report hearing phantom laughter echoing through empty hallways, doors slamming without explanation, and sudden cold spots in rooms that show no signs of ventilation. Ghost footage from security cameras and paranormal investigations often reveal shadowy figures moving past doors, fleeting across hallways, and disappearing before they can be fully identified, giving the French Quarter Guest Hotel a haunting presence. Blends seamlessly with the city's storied past. Much of the reported activity occurs in the guest rooms, particularly in the older sections of the building. Guests often describe sudden drops in temperature in specific areas of the room, corners of walls, or near furniture, creating an eerie chill that persists even on warm nights. Shadows are frequently observed shifting across floors, along walls, or near beds, disappearing when directly looked at. Some guests report hearing faint whispers or soft murmurs that cannot be traced to any source, sometimes sounding like distant conversations or ghostly laughter. Others experience a sensation of being lightly touched or brushed by invisible hands. And in certain instances, personal objects such as chairs, small tables, or copyright COR appear to move on their own. These subtle yet unsettling occurrences give the impression that the rooms are not truly empty, and that unseen presences continue to inhabit the space. The hotel's hallways and corridors are known for their high concentration of paranormal activity. Guests and staff alike report hearing footsteps that seem to follow them through the long, narrow passageways, sometimes approaching and then receding without any visible source. Doors open and close independently, occasionally slamming with enough force to startle nearby visitors. Shadowy shapes are often seen at the edges of vision, gliding silently past doors or along walls, vanishing when directly observed. Many guests report the sensation of being watched while walking these hallways, an unsettling awareness that intensifies in the older parts of the hotel, where original architectural details, high ceilings, and polished floors remain largely intact. The physical characteristics of these corridors seem to amplify both sound and the perception of movement, contributing to the hotel's haunted reputation. Public areas, including lounges, stairwells, and courtyard spaces, also host unexplained phenomena. Guests sometimes hear whispers or laughter in rooms and hallways that are otherwise unoccupied, accompanied by subtle creaks or the movement of furniture. Shadowy figures are occasionally observed standing near walls, lingering at the edges of lounges, or moving silently through stairwells, vanishing before they can be approached. Staff working overnight shifts often report the sensation of an unseen presence moving alongside them, quietly observing their actions. These repeated experiences have cemented the French Quarter Guest Hotel's reputation as a site of ongoing paranormal activity. Paranormal investigators have documented intriguing evidence throughout the property. Security cameras have captured shadowy forms gliding along hallways and appearing momentarily near room entrances. Motion-activated devices record fleeting orbs and unusual light anomalies drifting through corridors and rooms. Audio equipment has captured whispers, footsteps, and faint laughter in areas confirmed to be empty. Investigators have noted that the majority of these occurrences concentrate in the hotel's older sections, suggesting that preserved architectural features and narrow hallways, high ceilings, and original wooden floorsa may amplify or sustain residual energy. Staff members who work late-night shifts frequently share their own encounters with unexplained activity. Housekeeping personnel describe feeling watched as they move through rooms and hallways, hearing doors creak or slam unexpectedly, and noticing subtle movements in shadows. Security staff report flickering lights, shadowy forms at the edges of vision, and unexplained sounds, including footsteps, whispers, and occasional laughter in empty spaces. Long-term employees have come to accept these events as part of the hotel's character, recognizing that the building retains echoes of past guests and historical events that continue to manifest in perceptible ways. Guests report shadows drifting along walls, doors opening and closing independently, and ghostly laughter or whispers emanating from empty corners. These locations act as focal points for residual energy, preserving the presence of past occupants and the moments they left behind. The hotel's history provides context for its haunting reputation. Over decades, countless visitors, staff members, and events have left traces behind, creating layers of energy that some spirits may remain tethered to. Paranormal experts suggest that unresolved events, emotional attachments, and the building's historical significance can anchor spirits, allowing them to coexist with the living in ways that are perceptible and sometimes startling. The combination of preserved architecture, long-term human occupancy, and historical significance creates an environment where past and present intersect, often manifesting as ghostly phenomena. Even after the hallways have emptied and public spaces are silent, unexplained activity continues. Doors swing without cause, or subtle movement carries the weight of decades of history. That the past is never fully gone. The Hotel Provincial Annex in New Orleans stands as an understated extension of the city's historic hospitality, offering guests a blend of modern comfort and a direct connection to the French Quarter's storied past. Despite its charming atmosphere and inviting architecture, the Annex has developed a reputation for unusual activity that has intrigued visitors and paranormal investigators alike. Guests frequently report encountering shadowy figures lurking in corners, experiencing sudden cold drafts, and seeing fleeting silhouettes moving across corridors. Paranormal cameras have captured mysterious orbs hovering near hallways, reinforcing the notion that the Hotel Provincial Annex is a place where history and the supernatural intersect. Many of the reports originate from the guest rooms themselves. Visitors often note abrupt drops in temperature, particularly near room corners or adjacent to furniture, creating an unsettling chill that persists even in warm weather. Shadows are sometimes observed shifting along walls or across the floor, often vanishing the moment they are looked at directly. Some guests describe hearing whispers in hushed tones, faint voices that seem to drift from the corners of the room, or fleeting murmurs that cannot be attributed to other sources. Others have reported sensations of being brushed by unseen hands, or feeling a presence close by, as if the room is not entirely unoccupied. Objects such as chairs or small decorative items occasionally move without explanation, adding to the overall sense of an unseen presence. Guests and staff frequently report the sound of footsteps echoing along narrow passageways, seemingly following them from room to room without any identifiable source. Doors are known to open or close independently, sometimes slamming with enough force to startle those nearby. Shadows are commonly glimpsed moving along walls or across floors, disappearing when directly observed. Many guests describe the persistent sensation of being watched, particularly in hallways with dim lighting or older architectural features. The combination of narrow passageways, polished floors, and high ceilings appears to amplify sounds and movement, creating an environment where unexplained phenomena are heightened. Public areas, including lounges, stairwells, and communal spaces, also host unusual occurrences. Guests occasionally hear whispers or faint murmurs in empty rooms or hallways, accompanied by subtle creaks or the shifting of furniture. Shadowy figures have been seen lingering near walls, gliding silently through stairwells, or standing in the edges of lounges before vanishing without a trace. Overnight staff often report the sensation of an unseen presence moving along with them, quietly observing their actions, while lights flicker in rooms confirmed to be unoccupied. These repeated phenomena contribute to the Hotel Provincial Annexa's reputation as a location rich in paranormal activity. Paranormal investigators have collected compelling evidence throughout the property. Security cameras have captured fleeting shadows gliding along hallways or appearing briefly near room entrances. Motion-activated devices have recorded orbs of light hovering in corridors or drifting near walls and furniture, moving in ways that defy conventional explanation. Audio recording equipment has picked up faint whispers, footsteps, and soft murmurs in areas verified to be empty. Investigators have noted that the majority of paranormal activity occurs in the older parts of the building, suggesting that architectural features such as narrow corridors, high ceilings, and preserved woodwork may amplify residual energy. Staff working overnight shifts often share stories of unexplained experiences. Housekeeping personnel report feeling watched as they move through rooms and hallways, hearing doors creak or slam unexpectedly, and noticing shadows shifting at the edges of vision. Security staff describe flickering lights, shadowy forms appearing briefly in corridors, and sounds such as footsteps or whispers in areas confirmed to be empty. Long-term employees have come to accept these occurrences as part of the building's character, acknowledging that the annex retains echoes of past guests, staff, and historical events that continue to manifest in subtle ways. Certain rooms and hallways are prone to paranormal activity. Guests report shadows drifting along walls, doors opening or closing independently. Whispers or murmurs echo from empty corners. Cold spots often appear in areas with no ventilation. Fleeting figures may stand near furniture or walls before vanishing. These spaces act as focal points for residual energy, preserving traces of previous occupants and events that left a lasting impression on the building. The history of the Hotel Provincial Annex provides context for its haunting reputation. Situated in the French Quarter, the building has seen decades of visitors, staff, and significant events, leaving behind layers of energy. Paranormal experts suggest that unresolved emotional experiences, historic events, and the weight of the building's past can anchor spirits, allowing them to coexist with the living in ways that are perceptible to some. The preserved architecture and long-term occupancy create an environment in which residual energy lingers, often manifesting as ghostly phenomena that continue to intrigue and unsettle guests. Even when hallways are empty and public spaces are silent, paranormal activity persists. Doors swing without cause, shadows drift silently through corridors, and whispers echo from unoccupied rooms. Every creak of a floorboard, flicker of light, and subtle movement carries the weight of decades of history, giving visitors the impression that the past has never truly left. The Bourbon Street Inn in New Orleans is a historic building nestled in the heart of the French Quarter, offering visitors both charm and a direct link to the city's vibrant past. Despite its inviting FAA Section Ade and traditional architecture, the inn has gained a reputation for unexplained phenomena that captivate guests and paranormal investigators alike. Reports of phantom voices in empty rooms, shadowy forms passing through walls, and doors opening and closing without explanation have made the Bourbon Street Inn a hotspot for those drawn to the supernatural. Ghost footage captured by security cameras frequently shows fleeting figures moving along hallways, vanishing before they can be fully identified, suggesting that the inn is a place where the past and present intersect in ways that are both eerie and compelling. Much of the paranormal activity is reported within the guest rooms. Visitors often experience sudden and unexplained drops in temperature, particularly near corners or areas adjacent to furniture. Shadows have been observed moving across floors or along walls, disappearing when directly looked at. Many guests report hearing faint whispers, soft voices, or even muffled conversations that seem to emanate from nowhere. Phantom laughter has also been described, drifting through rooms with no apparent source. Some guests feel an invisible presence brushing past them or standing near the bed, leaving an unsettling sense that they are not alone. Objects such as chairs, small tables, or personal items occasionally shift without explanation, adding to the pervasive feeling of unseen activity within the rooms. The hallways and corridors of the Bourbon Street Inn are frequently cited as locations of intense paranormal activity. Guests and staff report hearing footsteps echoing along narrow passageways, often following them from one area to another without a discernible origin. Doors are known to swing open or close independently, sometimes slamming with a force that startles those nearby. Shadowy figures are often glimpsed at the periphery of vision, gliding along walls or disappearing into the corners of rooms. Guests and staff report hearing footsteps echoing along narrow passageways. Visitors frequently describe the sensation of being watched as they walk these hallways, a feeling that becomes more pronounced in the older sections of the building where original architectural features remain intact. The combination of polished floors, narrow corridors, and high ceilings seems to amplify both sounds and the perception of movement, enhancing the sense of the supernatural. Public spaces, including stairwells, lounges, and common areas, also host unexplained occurrences. Guests occasionally hear whispers or soft laughter in areas that are otherwise empty, accompanied by subtle creaks, taps, or shifts in furniture. Shadowy figures have been seen lingering near walls, gliding through stairwells, or standing silently in corners before vanishing without a trace. Staff working overnight shifts often report the sensation of an unseen presence moving alongside them, quietly observing their actions. Lights flicker unexpectedly, and doors sometimes move without cause, contributing to a constant atmosphere of uncertainty and heightened awareness within the inn. Paranormal investigators have documented significant evidence of activity throughout the property. Security cameras have captured fleeting shadows gliding along hallways, disappearing abruptly into walls or doorways. Motion-activated devices have recorded orbs of light drifting through corridors, often moving in ways that defy conventional explanation. Audio equipment has picked up whispers, footsteps, and occasional laughter in areas confirmed to be unoccupied. Investigators note that these occurrences are most concentrated in older sections of the building, suggesting that the preserved architecture may amplify or retain residual energy, allowing spirits or echoes of the past to manifest in perceptible ways. Staff working late-night shifts frequently share their own encounters. Housekeeping personnel describe feeling watched while moving through rooms and hallways, hearing doors creak or slam unexpectedly, and noticing shadows shifting at the edges of vision. Security staff report flickering lights, unexplained footsteps, and shadowy figures in corridors that have been confirmed empty. Long-term employees have come to accept these events as part of the INA's character, recognizing that the building retains traces of past guests, staff, and historical events that continue to leave a mark on the property. Certain rooms and hallways are particularly prone to paranormal phenomena. Guests report shadows drifting along walls, doors opening and closing independently, and whispers or faint laughter echoing from empty corners. Cold spots appear in areas with no ventilation, and fleeting figures are sometimes seen near furniture or doorways before disappearing. These spaces appear to act as focal points for residual energy, preserving impressions of previous occupants and moments that left an emotional imprint on the building. The Bourbon Street Inn's history provides context for its haunting reputation. Over decades, countless guests, staff, and events have contributed to the layering of energy within the building. Paranormal experts suggest that unresolved emotional experiences, historic events, and strong attachments can anchor spirits, allowing them to remain perceptible to the living. The preserved architecture, long-term occupancy, and historical significance of the inn create an environment where residual energy lingers, allowing past and present to intersect in ways that are both unsettling and captivating. Even after hallways are empty and rooms vacated, unexplained activity continues. Doors swing without cause. Shadows drift silently through corridors, and whispers echo from unoccupied rooms. Every creak of a floorboard, flicker of light, and subtle movement carries the weight of decades of history, giving visitors the impression that the past has never truly left. The Royal Sonesta Hotel in New Orleans is renowned not only for its luxury and prime location in the French Quarter, but also for the stories of paranormal activity that have captured the attention of visitors and investigators alike. Guests frequently report ghostly apparitions appearing in ballrooms, flickering lights in otherwise stable areas, and shadowy figures moving independently of any light sources. Paranormal cameras have documented orbs floating in hallways, adding to the hotel's reputation as a site where history and the supernatural intersect. The hotel's reputation as a site where history and the supernatural intersect. The combination of historic architecture, long-standing occupancy, and the energy of countless past events creates an environment where unexplained phenomena seem almost inevitable. Much of the reported activity occurs in the hotel's ballrooms and event spaces. Guests attending late-night functions or exploring after hours have described sudden drops in temperature, whispers echoing along high ceilings, and the feeling of being watched from unseen corners. Shadowy figures are occasionally observed gliding along walls or across floors, disappearing when approached or when direct attention is given. Some visitors report the faint sound of footsteps echoing over the polished floors, even when the spaces are empty. Lights in these areas often flicker erratically, sometimes dimming and brightening without any electrical explanation. These manifestations create a palpable tension that suggests the presence of unseen occupants, lingering in the space long after the last event has ended. Guest rooms and suites are also hotspots for paranormal activity. Visitors frequently report cold drafts appearing unexpectedly, shadows shifting across walls or floors, and soft whispers that cannot be traced to any visible source. Some describe objects moving independently, such as chairs subtly sliding across floors or decorative items tilting without explanation. Guests have also noted the sensation of being lightly touched by an unseen hand, or the impression that someone is standing just out of sight. Guests have also noted the sensation of being lightly touched by an unseen hand, or the impression that someone is standing just out of sight. Some describe objects moving independently, such as chairs subtly sliding across floors or decorative items tilting without explanation. Audio recordings from some rooms have captured faint murmurs and distant laughter, reinforcing the impression that the hotel retains echoes of its past residents and guests. The hotel's corridors and hallways are particularly prone to mysterious occurrences. Guests and staff alike report hearing footsteps that seem to follow them through narrow passageways, vanishing when checked. Doors open and close on their own, sometimes with a force that startles those nearby. Shadowy figures have been observed moving silently along the hallways, independent of any light source, sometimes lingering near corners or vanishing abruptly when directly observed. Many visitors report the sensation of being watched while walking these corridors, particularly in areas with dim lighting or older architectural details. The combination of polished floors, high ceilings, and narrow passageways seems to amplify sound and movement, heightening the perception of the supernatural. Public areas, including lounges, stairwells, and common spaces, have witnessed unexplained activity. Guests have described hearing faint whispers, low murmurs, or even ghostly laughter emanating from empty rooms. Shadowy figures have been observed standing near walls or gliding silently across stairwells, vanishing before they can be approached. Lights flicker unpredictably in these spaces, and furniture occasionally shifts without explanation. Staff working late night or overnight shifts frequently report the feeling of an unseen presence moving alongside them, quietly observing their work or standing silently in corners. These consistent accounts have conducted to the Royal Sonesta Hotel's growing reputation as a location of intense paranormal interest. Paranormal investigators have captured compelling evidence throughout the hotel. Security and motion-activated cameras have recorded shadowy figures moving through hallways or lingering near entrances. Orbs of light have been documented floating along corridors, appearing in footage as small, luminous spheres that drift independently of light sources. Audio recording devices have picked up unexplained footsteps, murmurs, and occasional laughter in areas verified to be unoccupied. Investigators have observed that these phenomena are most concentrated in older parts of the hotel and in spaces with historical significance, suggesting that the architecture may amplify or preserve residual energy. Staff members have long reported unusual experiences. Housekeeping personnel often feel the sensation of being watched while performing duties in guest rooms or hallways. They describe doors opening and closing without cause, chairs or decorative objects shifting slightly, and shadows appearing at the edge of vision. Security staff have witnessed flickering lights, unexplained movement, and shadowy figures gliding along hallways during overnight shifts. Long-term employees often regard these occurrences as part of the building's character, acknowledging that the Royal Sonesta Hotel retains traces of past events, guests, and staff that continue to manifest in subtle, perceptible ways. Certain areas of the hotel, particularly older corridors, ballrooms, and suites, act as focal points for residual energy. Guests frequently report shadows drifting across floors, doors moving independently, and faint whispers echoing through empty rooms. Cold spots appear in locations with no ventilation, and fleeting figures are occasionally observed near furniture, walls, or doorways before vanishing. These areas seem to preserve the presence of past occupants, capturing moments and emotions that continue to linger decades later. The history of the Royal Sonesta Hotel provides insight into its paranormal activity. Countless guests, events, and staff have left energetic imprints on the property. Paranormal experts suggest that emotional experiences, historic occurrences, and unresolved events may anchor spirits, allowing them to coexist with the living in ways that are perceptible to some. The combination of preserved architecture, continuous occupancy, and historical significance creates an environment where the past remains intertwined with the present, manifesting as ghostly phenomena that both intrigue and unsettle visitors. Even after hallways are empty and rooms vacated, an unexplained activity persists. Doors swing without cause. Shadows glide silently through corridors, and whispers echo from unoccupied spaces. Every creak of a floorboard, flicker of light, and subtle movement carries the weight of history, leaving visitors with the impression that the past is ever present. The Maison Dupuy Hotel in New Orleans is a historic landmark situated in the heart of the French Quarter. Known not only for its classic charm and vibrant atmosphere, but also for the paranormal activity reported by guests and staff alike. Visitors frequently describe hearing ghostly laughter echoing through the hallways, footsteps in corridors long after the last guests have retired, and shadowy figures appearing unexpectedly in doorways. Security footage occasionally captures indistinct forms moving through rooms and corridors, reinforcing the belief that the Maison Dupuy Hotel is a location where the past continues to linger, silently interacting with the present. Many reports of paranormal activity originate within guest rooms. Visitors often notice sudden drops in temperature, cold spots appearing near corners or along hallways, and objects shifting slightly without explanation. Chairs, tables. Tables and decorative items have been observed moving independently, sometimes tilting or sliding across floors without any logical cause. Guests describe the sensation of being lightly brushed by an unseen hand, or feeling as though a presence is standing just out of sight. Whispered voices, soft murmurs, or faint laughter sometimes drift through the rooms, making it difficult for visitors to dismiss the experience as imagination. These manifestations create an eerie atmosphere, suggesting that the Maison Dupuy Hotel is imbued with the energy of past occupants and historical events. Corridors and hallways throughout the hotel are another focal point for unexplained phenomena. Guests often hear footsteps echoing along polished floors, seemingly following them from room to room with no identifiable source. Doors swing open or close by themselves, occasionally slamming with enough force to startle anyone nearby. Shadowy figures have been observed gliding along walls, moving silently and disappearing when directly confronted. Many guests report an unsettling sensation of being watched as they navigate the hallways, especially in dimly lit areas or sections of the hotel that retain original architectural features. The combination of narrow passageways, high ceilings, and reflective floors amplifies sounds and movements, heightening the perception of paranormal activity. Public spaces, including lounges, stairwells, and communal areas, are also sites of frequent reports. Guests have described hearing whispers, soft laughter, or murmurs emanating from rooms that appear empty. Shadowy forms are occasionally seen drifting silently through stairwells or standing near walls before vanishing. Lights flicker unpredictably, and furniture sometimes shifts without explanation. Staff members working overnight or during quiet hours frequently report feeling an unseen presence moving alongside them or quietly observing from corners. These recurring experiences have cemented the Maison Dupuy Hotel's reputation as one of New Orleans' most haunted properties, attracting curious visitors as well as paranormal investigators. Paranormal documentation within the hotel has yielded compelling evidence. Security cameras have captured fleeting shadows moving through hallways, and occasionally standing near doorways before disappearing. Motion-activated cameras have recorded orbs of light hovering in rooms or corridors, drifting independently of any light source. Audio devices have picked up unexplained whispers, footsteps, and occasional laughter in areas confirmed to be unoccupied. Investigators have noted that the majority of paranormal activity occurs in older sections of the building, suggesting that original architectural features, preserved over decades, may retain or amplify residual energy. Staff members who work late hours often share their own encounters with paranormal activity. Housekeeping personnel describe feeling watched while moving through rooms or hallways, noticing chairs or objects subtly shift, and observing shadows at the edges of their vision. Security personnel have reported flickering lights, sudden cold drafts, and shadowy figures gliding through corridors during overnight shifts. Long-term employees often regard these phenomena as a natural part of the hotel's character, acknowledging that the building carries the weight of its history and preserves traces of past guests, events, and staff members. Certain rooms and corridors within the Maison Dupuy Hotel appear to serve as focal points for paranormal energy. Guests frequently observe shadows drifting across walls, doors moving independently, and whispers or laughter echoing from empty corners. Cold spots often appear in areas with no ventilation, and fleeting figures are sometimes seen near furniture, doorways, or windows before disappearing. These areas seem to preserve residual energy, capturing moments, emotions, and traces of former occupants that continue to manifest decades later. The history of the Maison Dupuy Hotel provides important context for its hauntings. Over the years, countless guests, events, and staff members have contributed to layers of energy within the building. Paranormal experts suggest that unresolved emotional experiences, significant events, and strong attachments may anchor spirits, allowing them to remain perceptible to the living. The combination of preserved architecture, continuous occupancy, and historical significance creates an environment in which the past continues to coexist with the present, manifesting as ghostly activity that intrigues and unsettles visitors. Even when hallways are empty and rooms vacated, The unexplained activity continues. Doors swing without cause. Shadows drift silently along corridors. And whispers echo from unoccupied rooms. Every creak of a floorboard, flicker of a light, or subtle movement conveys the weight of history, leaving guests with the impression that the past has never fully departed. The Roosevelt Annex in New Orleans is an extension of the historic Roosevelt Hotel, nestled in the heart of the French Quarter. While celebrated for its luxury and architectural elegance, the Annex has gained a reputation for unexplained phenomena that intrigue both guests and paranormal investigators. Visitors often report ghostly activity on the upper floors, including shadowy figures appearing suddenly in hallways, cold drafts sweeping through rooms with no ventilation, and the echo of phantom footsteps that seem to follow them from corridor to corridor. Security and paranormal footage frequently show fleeting apparitions gliding silently through hallways late at night, vanishing before they can be fully identified. Many of the reported hauntings occur within the guest rooms. Visitors frequently describe sudden chills and unexplained cold spots, often concentrated near corners, windows, or doorways. Chairs, tables, and other objects occasionally move independently, shifting slightly as if guided by unseen hands. Guests have reported the sensation of being watched or gently touched, even when alone in their rooms. Whispered voices, soft murmurs, and faint laughter are also common, drifting through rooms with no visible source. These occurrences leave an unsettling impression that the rooms themselves retain the presence of past guests, moments, and emotions that continue to manifest in subtle and sometimes startling ways. The hallways of the Roosevelt Annex are another hub of paranormal activity. Guests often hear footsteps echoing across polished floors, seemingly following them through corridors with no identifiable origin. Doors open and close unexpectedly, sometimes slamming with enough force to startle anyone nearby. Shadowy figures are frequently observed moving along walls, independent of light sources, and often vanish when approached. Many visitors describe the sensation of being watched as they navigate these hallways, a feeling that intensifies in the upper floors where historic architecture remains largely intact. Narrow corridors, high ceilings, and reflective surfaces amplify both sound and movement, heightening the perception of paranormal presence. Public areas such as stairwells, lounges, and common spaces are also sites of frequent, unexplained activity. Guests report hearing whispers, faint laughter, and murmurs emanating from empty rooms. Shadowy forms have been seen gliding silently along staircases or standing near walls before disappearing abruptly. Lights flicker unpredictably in these spaces, and furniture sometimes shifts without explanation. Staff members working overnight or during quiet hours frequently report the sensation of an unseen presence moving alongside them or observing from corners. These consistent accounts have cemented the Roosevelt Annex's reputation as one of New Orleans' more haunted properties, attracting curiosity and attention from those interested in the paranormal. Paranormal investigators have documented notable evidence throughout the property. Security and motion-activated cameras have captured shadows moving through hallways and appearing near doorways, sometimes lingering for moments before disappearing. Orbs of light have been recorded drifting in corridors and rooms, moving independently of any light source. Audio devices have captured unexplained footsteps, whispers, and occasional laughter in areas verified to be empty. Investigators note that the most intense activity occurs on the upper floors, and in sections of the hotel that retain historic architectural features, suggesting that the preserved structure may amplify or retain residual energy. Staff members who work late-night shifts share their own accounts of paranormal activity. Housekeeping personnel frequently report feeling watched while moving through rooms and corridors, noticing subtle shifts in furniture, and seeing fleeting shadows at the edge of their vision. Security staff often witness flickering lights, unexplained movements, and shadowy figures gliding along hallways during overnight monitoring. Long-term employees acknowledge these events as part of the building's character, recognizing that the Roosevelt Annex holds the energy of countless past guests, events, and staff who have left an enduring mark on the property. Certain rooms, corridors, and stairwells appear to act as focal points for residual energy. Visitors consistently report shadows drifting across floors, doors moving independently, and whispers or faint laughter echoing from empty corners. Cold spots often appear without explanation, and fleeting figures are sometimes seen near furniture, doorways, or staircases before vanishing. These areas seem to preserve traces of past occupants, capturing emotional imprints that remain perceptible decades later. The history of the Roosevelt Annex provides insight into its haunting reputation. Over the years, numerous guests, staff members, and events have contributed to the layering of energy within the building. Paranormal experts suggest that unresolved emotional experiences, significant occurrences, and attachments to the property may anchor spirits, allowing them to remain perceptible to the living. The combination of preserved architecture, continuous occupancy, and historical importance creates an environment where the past coexists with the present, manifesting as ghostly activity that is both compelling and unsettling. Even when hallways are empty and rooms vacated, unexplained activity continues. Doors swing without cause, shadows glide silently along corridors. Whispers echo from unoccupied spaces, and the faint sound of footsteps resonates in the upper floors. Every creak of a floorboard, flicker of light, and subtle movement carries the weight of history, leaving guests with the impression that the past never fully departs. And there you have ETA 25 haunted hotels in Louisiana, where restless spirits linger. Shadows glide silently through hallways, and cameras sometimes capture what our eyes cannot. These hotels remind us that some histories are too dark to rest quietly, and some souls refuse to be forgotten. These hotels remind us that some histories are too dark to rest quietly, and some souls refuse to be forgotten. Some histories are too dark to rest quietly, and some souls refuse to be forgotten. If this journey into Louisiana's haunted hotels sent shivers down your spine, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another ghostly tale. Until next time, tread carefully through these haunted halls, because some footage reveals more than memories, it reveals the lingering presence of the past.